Good evening, everyone. I call to order the regular meeting of the Lakewood City Council on July 28th, 2025 at 7:05 p.m. To connect with the council meeting online, please use one of the following links at lakewoodspeaks.org or lakewood.org/council videos. For online public comments, you may post comments of any length to lakewoodspeaks.org. That is our online forum for public comments. For those of you also wishing to follow along on different subjects that we are discussing this evening, you can also find additional information, staff presentations, and memos and backup information on Lakewood Speaks as well. We will be leaving open the online public comments through tonight's meeting and until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Anyone who would like to address the city will be given the opportunity during general public comment. We'll have two segments this evening, as well as, with that we'll go through a limited 3 minutes, and then with each of our public hearings or public comment options related to different topics that we'll be discussing tonight as well. So you'll notice there are several options. With that, I will hand the floor over to the clerk. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Strom.
Here.
Councilors LeBure. Here. Ryan.
Here.
Cruz K.
Here.
Maya Guerrero.
Here.
Charzai.
Here.
Sinks.
Here.
Cruz I.
Here.
Lowe.
Here.
Furman.
Here.
Nystrom.
Here.
Mayor Strom, you have a quorum.
Thank you. If you are able to stand, I would ask you now to please join us to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing afterward for a moment of silent prayer or reflection. All members of the City Council have the responsibility to comply with the terms of Charter 7.2B and excuse themselves from voting on any matter in which they determine they have a personal, financial, or business interest. The City Council is empowered by Charter 7.2B to agree by unanimous vote, excluding the member at issue, to excuse any member of the Council from voting on a matter in which they determine that such member has a personal, financial, or business interest. And this brings us to my favorite point in every single meeting, the opportunity for us to share out proclamations, which is not something we get to do in every meeting, so it is a special opportunity. And most importantly, this time around, a very special opportunity as we are celebrating the retirement of our West Metro Fire Chief, Don Lombardi. So Chief Lombardi, if you'll meet me up here at the lectern, we've got some reading to do.
All right. Proclamation honoring the career and legacy of Fire Chief Don Lombardi. Whereas Fire Chief Don Lombardi has dedicated over 3 decades to the residents of Lakewood and the West Metro Fire District, joining in 1991 and rising through the ranks of lieutenant, captain, assistant fire chief, deputy chief, and ultimately serving with the distinction of fire chief for the last 14 years. And whereas Chief Lombardi has led West Metro Fire Rescue, one of the largest fire and emergency medical service providers in Colorado, serving a population of nearly 300,000 across 108 square miles, with a commitment to operational excellence, innovation, community well-being, and whereas under his leadership, West Metro earned international accreditation and an ISO Class 1 rating, 2 of the highest distinctions for a fire department, resulting in increased community safety and reduced insurance costs for district residents. And whereas Chief Lombardi served as the sponsoring agency chief for FEMA's Colorado Task Force 1, contributing to national level disaster response and provided steadfast leadership through roles with the Metropolitan Fire Chiefs Association, Colorado State Fire Chiefs, and the Colorado Fallen Firefighters Foundation. And whereas throughout his career, Chief Lombardi has been a mentor to countless firefighters, a builder of strong organizational culture, always focused on safety, preparedness, and compassion for the communities in the region. And whereas his exemplary service has been recognized with the 2022 Colorado Fire Chief of the Year Award, the Russell E. Sanders Lifetime Achievement Award, and the International Cross of Merit from the Federation of European Fire Officers. And whereas, under 33 years of devoted service in the fire service and a lifetime of public service that began in education, Chief Lombardi will retire on August 1st, 2025, leaving behind a legacy defined by leadership, integrity, courage, and enduring impact. And whereas the City of Lakewood extends the invitation to join us in honoring the career of Chief Don Lombardi and his extraordinary leadership in the dedication to public safety. Now, therefore, on behalf of the City of Lakewood and the people of Lakewood, I, acting on behalf of Wendy Strom, Mayor of the City of Lakewood, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim August 1st, 2025 as Chief Lombardi Day.
We'll hand the microphone over to Chief Lombardi in a second to say a few words. But before we do, I wanted to say thank you so much for all of your partnership and your leadership that has kept all of us safe over the last 14 years. And I wish you a very prosperous and fulfilling and joyful retirement. That is surrounded by lots of joy and relaxation, I'm sure much deserved.
Yes,
So,
thank you very much. Mayor, thank you so much, and City Council, thank you very much. This is truly humbling. I have to say, our partnership is like none other between West Metro and Lakewood, as a municipality and then as a special district. I've had fire chiefs and I've had people from other cities come up to me and say, how do you develop such a relationship? And we wish that we had the kind of relationship that you all have. And that's from a lot of relationship building and a lot of respect for each other. We have worked really, really super well together from a counselor perspective, from a city manager perspective, from the mayor's perspective, from the police chief's perspective. Phil's over there, police chief's perspective, building, public works, all of that. We've worked together because we had the same mutual interest, taking care of our citizens in the right fashion, in the right way, and doing it professionally and doing it with compassion. This means so much to me. I can't tell you how much it means. It's very humbling, and I'm very honored for this. And I'm going to drive through Lakewood on August 1st, and hopefully no one pulls me over, Phil, because I'm going to pull the card here. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Are you going to be up here?
oh, well, let's
Oh, yeah, let's hold that, yeah.
And then
Oh, hold that.
we'll hold. There you go.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Good luck. I will. This is the first point in tonight's meeting where the public is invited to address the City Council. This one will be on items not on this evening's agenda. The initial period of public comment allows for up to 10 speakers to provide comment on any matter other than agenda items, and we'll prioritize those with special needs. Speaking during this initial period of public comment does require signing up before tonight's meeting. There is no pooling of time that occurs in the initial public comment period. The goal of public comment is to create an environment that welcomes all stakeholders to share their thoughts and concerns. Whether your comments are left on lakewoodspeaks.org or here in chambers, I ask that all comments be directed to the City Council and that anyone in attendance or online, respect the decorum of the council chambers and practice civility. So that every speaker may be heard, I ask that everyone here in chambers refrain from applause or any audible support or discord with the speaker. For anyone who in the audience that may be uncomfortable speaking in front of the room, you are also welcome to leave a comment online at lakewoodspeaks.org instead. Anyone will be able to leave comments on that until through 10 a.m. tomorrow. And for the record, any comments that are left on lakewoodspeaks.org are included in the meeting minutes verbatim, which is not the same as when you come up front. Please note that no campaigning is allowed during public comment. If you're speaking and have any handouts you'd like to share with the City Council, please provide them directly to our City Clerk here, and he will distribute those to City Council after the meeting. The purpose of this time tonight is for us to hear from you. This is a listen-only session. If you would like to engage in a conversation with your counselors, with staff, or myself, you may do so via phone, scheduled visits, or in email. For those of you that are planning to speak tonight, when you arrive up front at the microphone, right here, please start by stating your name and address, or name and ward. Once the clock starts, you'll have 3 minutes to speak, and that is all for my prepared remarks. So we'll go ahead and start calling names of those. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. We've got comments. For those of you that joined us a couple of weeks ago, we made a special exception and asked the police chief to come in and report on progress and a number of things with regards to Jax Grattan being found here in the city of Lakewood. I have asked police chief to return back tonight and report about on progress, so he will say a few words so everybody has the opportunity to hear those this evening, and then we'll commence with the calling and the names up front. So Chief Smith, if you'd like to join us up the lectern.
Thank you, Council, and thank you, Madam Mayor. We'll get gathered here a little bit. So good evening, Council. You'll remember the last time I was here, I made a statement apology for any inadvertent slight that we might have given to the Grattan family or about Jax Grattan by using her dead name as opposed to her current name. I also assure our community members and the council and the mayor that we would move forward to endeavor as an agency to educate, engage, and to build cultural competency. I can't even read my own writing. I need glasses. We pursue trust and building trust, and we would exemplify safety and value for all of our community members. Here is what we have done and what we have in progress. And this is going to be in a timely fashion towards the upcoming months to achieve these meaningful goals and objectives. The first thing we've established, and we'll actually haven't established it, but we've got it in place, is the Lakewood Police Department Community Advisory Group. And that will consist of members within the agency as well as members from in the community that want to pursue these objectives to work together. The second is we're going to make sure that the Kelly Loving Act is made to be common knowledge amongst the agency. It's actually incorporated into a new policy that we just revised. Hope to have that thoroughly through the agency through the middle of August. We also have a training video, which is called Respect and Reporting. It's about 11 minutes long. It goes through the salient definitions that we need with our diverse members of our community. Also goes into a very nice way to walk into a contact so we don't hurt anybody's feelings. We're polite and we're professional. It's a nice video that's already in play. We've already got that up on DMS and it's being circulated. I watched it today. We revised our current policy for how we make contact with diverse members of our community. This policy is treatment of the transgender. And we took... That's not how you say it. Get it together. I'm sorry. Do better. Trans.
Do not take her humanity away.
Come on, you guys. We need to give the chief the respect to listen. We're going to listen to everybody. We need to each give each other respect, okay?
So we took the policies from Erie and Longmont, and as well as the Pride organization, and we took the three of those and meshed them together to make a Lakewood policy that suits our community and suits our goals.
A lot of anti-LGBT in those areas. Do better.
That'll actually be the purpose of the Lakewood Police Department Community Advisory Group. We also contacted the Boulder County, can't read it, Gender Support, which meets on Thursday nights, 7 to 9. I've already applied for that. I will personally attend that. Also, the Virtual Trans Support Group, the application is in for that as well. And then finally, One Colorado features a training consultation request, which we put in today as well. So some of these we'll move along. We're into them. We've made the applications. Some are in play. The policy's already in place. With that, I just want to thank you for allowing me this time to try and clarify some things, even if, again, it didn't come out as smooth as silk on the end of the room. I apologize for that. That's not what it was intended. And I thank you for allowing me this time tonight.
Thank you, Chief. All right. Up first for public comment, I have Brandy Burns-Carey, then Z. Williams, and then Catherine Bernal. So as you approach, if you'll give your name and address, or your name and ward, and then we'll get your 3-minute clock started.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Brandy Carey. I do not live in Lakewood. I am a friend of Jax, so I am here for her. Good evening, City Council, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. And thank you to my friends for joining us. I'm here today to urgently request the creation of an independent oversight task force to review the investigation into the disappearance and tragic death of Jax Grattan, a beloved member of our community. I knew Jax for 5 years. She was a vibrant, compassionate person full of life. On April 15th, around 10 p.m., she walked out of her apartment and she was never seen again by anybody who cared. Unfortunately, her mother put in a missing persons report on the 24th, and her remains were found 52 days later on June 6th. In those 52 days, friends, family, and community members worked tirelessly, sorry, I'm nervous. We came together with systems where the systems in place had failed to show up. We are still showing up because the treatment of Jax's mother received by both the Lakewood Police and Jefferson County Coroner's Office has been frankly unacceptable. Instead of being met with compassion, Mama C faced dismissal, confusion, disrespect, and at one point she was even treated as though she was not Jax's mother, and that's because I, as Jax's friend, was mislabeled as her mother when the coroners called to ask me a question that should have gone to her mother. The coroner's office could have resolved that with a single phone call to the police department and asked, who is Jax's mother? I understand that the Lakewood PD has said that they pledged to create the oversight within the department. I ask why in 2025 do transgender individuals need to have oversight committees? Why? She's a person just like anybody else in our community, and it's about time that we are treated this way. It isn't about bureaucratic failure. It's about a grieving mother being re-traumatized in a very horrible way by the very institutions meant to support her. It's about the lack of dignity and respect afforded to my friend, a trans woman, a human. It's about the lack of dignity of respect afforded to her in both life and her death. We don't know what happened to Jax, but we do know that the investigation has been mishandled and justice has not been served, and we want to see it served. We are calling on you, not just as officials, but as human beings like the rest of us. Imagine if this was your child, your friend, your community member. Jax deserved better, and Mama C deserves better. All trans lives deserve better. We ask that you support independent oversight. Let's do what's right. Thank you.
Thank you. Z. Williams, then Catherine Bernal, then Ben Smith. Ben Smith.
Good evening, Council. My name is Z. Williams. I'm a transgender person. A person. I'm the co-director and co-founder of Bread and Roses Legal Center, a resident of Ward 2, and I have the greatest pleasure of my life being the advocate for Jax Grattan's mother and family. This is Jax. I want you to see her when I talk to you tonight. I'm here to continue to ask for independent oversight of Jax's investigation. Lakewood police have yet again demonstrated they have no ability to even talk about transgender people. To name us as people tonight, your highest ranking officer cannot do that in front of you with written notes tonight. She has been dead named. The police have expressed disturbing notions about trans women, about consent, about drug use. How can a mother, a community, a group of friends, anyone trust a system that has demonstrated itself to be so repeatedly prejudiced? I can't even enter the police station of the community I live in to attend a meeting I have to attend for work on behalf of Jax's family without being treated poorly because I am transgender. A transgender person with a law degree and a prestigious career in victim advocacy. I'm happy to provide you with my resume, but you should not have to see it, because everyone deserves to be treated with respect and decency by the people that are alleged to serve them. This issue is endemic in policing. A study of trans people showed that 60% of trans people will not call the police when they need help because they do not trust them. This is about more than Lakewood. And police have promised us a nice 11-minute video, some training requests, a training series in 2026. We cannot wait. Jax cannot wait. Her mother cannot wait. The whole world is watching you all right now. There are people across the globe watching this meeting. Trans people in this room and across the globe asking, if I go missing, will they care? Will they look for me? Will they find where my body is left? Will they call me by my name? Will they call me by my name? This is an issue of justice for more than Jax, which is what she would want it to be, because Jax was a human deeply committed to justice. We need oversight now, and it cannot be by the police. It cannot be from their oversight committee. It needs to be independent. They've shown themselves inept. They have broken all trust yet again tonight. We deserve better, Jax deserves better, and trans people around the globe deserve better. Long live Jax Grattan.
Catherine Bernal.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Bernal. I'm a resident of Denver, but I'm here because I had the very great privilege of knowing for a brief time Jax before she went missing, and started what was the beginning, I think, of what would have been a really great friendship with her. Jax struggled with a lot of the things that our community just struggles with, and fought through most of them, and had started her own business and was successful. And she would give any trans person their first gender-affirming haircut for free. Her work was featured in national magazines. She was a pillar of our community. She wasn't one of us, she was the best of us. And we are all afraid right now. We're afraid for the next few years, real bad. And she's the first to go missing in this time period, but I guarantee she won't be the last. And we are all wondering what's gonna happen to those of us who do. And what happens to her happens to all of us. What you do to her, you do to all of us. And what you do for her, you do for all of us. So please, just treat her as a human being. I like, you're 10 years too late, woke training nonsense to like just acknowledge our human dignity. That's great, but I want justice for my dead friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben Smith, then Amanda Phillips, and then Katrina Whitehead. No Ben Smith here. Okay, Amanda Phillips.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Sheriff. I'm Amanda Phillips of Southeast Denver, and I was Jax's neighbor, lived a mile from her. And I looked at the sheriff just now because I want to thank him for staying here so far. And I hope he stays for the rest of the meeting. And Mayor, I respect you, and please, if I happen to go over 3 minutes by a little bit, please don't walk out on me. And thank you for all the council members for staying last time, and Mr. Rain for coming around to introduce himself. I am scared since Jack has been missing a mile from my house. I have been scared to leave at night. My entire neighborhood of Indian Creek is scared. South Central Denver. I used to ride Harleys. We came to Lakewood a lot. Guess what? I'm not coming over here until you solve Jax's murder. I'm telling you, she did not climb a 30-foot fence. She was not found in an alley. Who fed the media false information? Was it the cops? She was found by a bypasser. I am no rocket scientist, and I'm definitely no sheriff, but I mean, for God's sake, she's found in this skinny, it's not even an alley, it's a back area attached to the back of a building, and the groundskeeper, property manager, found her 2 months after she went missing. All of us searched creeks. I almost fell down into a creek. I don't care, we wanted to find our Jax. Okay, what I'm trying to get at is, for God's sake, put on your police hat, put on your gum walking shoes, whatever the detective slang word is, and I would start with, obviously, any and everybody who has access to that building, the pawn shop, the tattoo parlors, who has keys to the front, who has keys to that back door. Are there any gates that lead to the back door? I don't think so, but I could be wrong. Does the other building access that little tiny, skinny area? She was put there by a killer. A human being doesn't just throw off her shirt, her glasses, her bag, her cell phone. And guess what? Her credit cards have never been used, ever. Someone did this to her. We need to feel safe. We need the cops to do their job. Please, please, please respect the transgender community, women, men, bisexual, LGBTQ, straight, whatever I am, and just give them some, oh, the time's expired. Please, please do the oversight committee that her mom wants. Please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Long live Jax.
Katrina Whitehead. And then Colin Bronner.
Hello, my name is Katrina Whitehead. I'm a licensed professional counselor in Westminster, and I specialize in complex trauma, and I work with the trans individuals. I am here for Justice for Jax to recommend an oversight task force to be provided for Jax's case and for other trans individuals and their families. After hearing about how Jax's family has been treated by law enforcement and the justice system, I was left feeling utterly disgusted. It is disturbing the level of negligence that has went into just providing the surface level needs for this family. Sorry. It should be disturbing to anyone when they hear a victim has been provided has not been provided the first and most important victim right to be treated with fairness, respect, and dignity. My heart always breaks when I hear about how our law enforcement disregards a victim's rights because the level of trauma these individuals experience intensifies so much more. In my work as a therapist and former victim advocate, when I have met with a victim where they have been treated this poorly from the justice system, they have told me that they will never call the police again, despite how much danger they are in. When I hear this, I get so angry because these people are left feeling isolated and trapped, even though all of this could have been prevented if actual trauma-informed care was given. Trauma-informed care and victims' rights are necessary because they provide the space and the support for victims to start trying to heal their trauma. This was ripped away from Jax's family, and now they are left with one of the hardest traumas to process through, how to find closure with a broken system. It is not up to the victim to try to trust the system again. It is up to the broken system to take accountability and heal itself, to start the building blocks for the victim to regain that trust. This task force will not just be the starting place for this type of healing, but so much more. The trans community and the community as a whole will feel safer to report crime, which will have a ripple effect in decreasing crime as a whole. It gives trans people more of a voice so the law enforcement can understand how to protect them better. It will provide empathy and understanding for the trans community deserves, which will ensure their other victims are also given that same level of care. As you can see, providing task force for Jax and the trans community is the morally right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Colin Bronner. And then Holly Bombria. And then we'll finish with Tink Incy. Oh, do we not have Colin Bronner? Okay. Holly Bombria, you're up.
Hello, Mayor Strom, my new friend Dave, and all the rest of the City Council members. My name is Holly Bombria, B-O-M-B-R-I-A. I'll leave my address and contact information with your clerk when I'm finished.
We have it up here, you're fine.
Oh, great, thank you. I'm a native of Colorado, and I used to live in the metro area, but I now live in Falcon, which is close to Colorado Springs. These are my words as an individual, not representing any group or any other person other than myself. I come to you in my favorite role, as a mom. Think of your mom or anyone who gives you maternal love. Imagine that maternal love for just a few seconds. Just think of who gives you that warmth, that support. Maternal love is very strong and powerful. As a mom, I was drawn to the missing person case of Jax Grattan. I am old enough to be Jax's mom, and although I did not know her, I searched and searched for Jax, and I worried as if she were my own daughter. I became familiar with Sherry, Jax's mom, and with Nance, who was in the role of Jax's Denver mom. I became friends with Jax's friends, co-workers, and community members. You remember that we searched for Jax for nearly 2 months. Tragically, her body was found in early June in Lakewood, and many questions remain. I listened to Police Chief Smith as he spoke to you in your July 14th meeting. I respect Chief Smith. Why? Because I hold a core and unshakable belief that people want to help other people. When people choose to hold positions such as Chief of Police, Mayor, City Council member, or really any position in law enforcement or public government, they publicly show a commitment to helping. We have all been informed of the timing of the search, the body being found, the autopsy begun, the remains released, etc. What I stand here to ask you as a mom is to please, please treat this death with integrity, honesty, respect, facts, dedication, thoroughness, and steadfastness. Please work with or appoint an independent committee to oversee the gathering of all facts from the moment Jax went missing and communicate those facts to Jax's next of kin, her mom, Sherry. Thank you. I will never stop thinking of Jax, ever. She has changed my life. As a mom, my heart aches. Long live Jax and the light she brought to this world. Thank you.
Thank you. Tink Kinsey?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for hearing us tonight. It means the world. My name is Tink Insey. My voter name is Juliana Insey, and I'm from Loveland, Colorado. There are many reasons why people do not go by a legal name unless we absolutely have to. I have my own reasons, so please call me Tink. So tonight I'm coming before you because I'm here for justice for Jax. I would like you to know that I have known Jax since I was 15 years old. I am 35. We have had a long-lasting relationship up until she went missing recently. So you can imagine how distraught and appalled and everything that happened the day she went missing and the 50-some-odd days that she was missing when we, my friends behind you, and other constituents were trudging through the Platte River. And as someone who works for a healthcare center, the Platte River is not sanitary, but we did it because we wanted some sign of our friend. And note, even though we know what has occurred with her and she is no longer with us, we still don't have answers, and I would go back into that Platte River to find a credit card, a cell phone, anything that has not been found yet, because we don't have answers. I am here for an oversight committee immediately, because there are areas that you do not understand, and I'm speaking to you, Chief of Police. Did you know that within healthcare centers, the word Chief of Police is cop? But yet I still felt really sad for you when you were mistitled, because a title is important, and you worked it, and you earned it, and I hope you live up to it. I demand oversight committee. I demand answers. Please tell me what happened to my friend. As a member of the LGBT community, I have been married to a beautiful wife for 17 years. I don't look that old, but I'm experienced. That's because I hit the streets, and I hit the streets with Jax telling all of you what it meant to be alive, what it means to be afraid. And I'm afraid. I've never been more afraid than I am right now. This is not supposed to happen in my backyard. And my backyard is Colorado. I don't care if I'm from Loveland. I used to live in Westminster. I used to live in Sedalia. I used to live in Castle Rock. I used to live in Longmont. None of these areas, Chief of Police, that you referenced as getting your policies from are LGBT friendly. In fact, I just went to a city council meeting in Loveland because they wanted to revoke trans members from sports, from bathrooms, when all people want to do is go to the restroom. How is that a problem? All people want to do is play a sport. Yes, we're built differently. But I am not, and I'm so sorry my time has expired, but I am not going to let this go. I have spoken to you like I would do at my work, at my profession, of what everything has taught me to speak, and I would like to speak to you for just one more minute with how Jax taught me.
Your time has expired. I'm sorry.
Can I get one more minute? 30 seconds.
We
I'm
need
really
to be
fast.
fair to everybody. So
I am the last one in public comment. Can you please give me one extra minute? Please. I'm fast when I'm scripted. Thank you. Just a moment. Her name is Jax Grattan. Say it, look me in the eye and say it without glancing at your notes, like I'm glancing right now because I'm not a public speaker. I'm about to cry in front of you, Miss Mayor. You broke my heart, but you can repair it. Because forgetting her was never an option for me, but for you it was what feels to be the default. Or maybe you never truly knew her to begin with, not the way her friends did, her family, her community, the ones still here, still bleeding from silence. I remember Jax. Not just the smile, but the fire, not just the stories, but the way she told them, like truth was something to dance with, not fear. She reminded me of characters who raised us, the ones who taught us to fight for love, justice, and friendship, the ones who said, don't give up, even when the world did. You remember those kinds of characters, the ones whose names you'd never forget, whose songs you still hum years later, the ones who lived in stories here in real life. Jax was one of them. To have someone like that standing in front of you, breathing, shining, showing up, and then watch her light snuffed out like it meant nothing, it's a kind of pain I don't have words for. It's just this flood of grief and rage and love crashing into each other over and over and over again. But you remember the deadlines, the press releases, my time expiring, Liberty, and while we were printing flyers and on our own dime, you were printing excuses. You called it protocol. We called it slow death. You said we're doing everything we can, but actions speak louder than words, and I say no action because yours came too quiet. Too late, if they came at all. We were boots on the ground while you were reviewing the situation. We held vigils while you held meetings. We cried while you calculated, and still you call this a tragedy. Like it was the weather, like it just happened. No, it didn't just happen. She didn't just vanish into thin air. She was failed. Jax Grattan was failed by systems that are supposed to protect, by people who were supposed to show up, by a city that never spoke her name loud enough for it to echo past the agenda. You forgot her name, but I won't. We won't. We say it in every room we step into. We scream it into streets that you drive past with your windows up and your
I need
ACs
you to
high.
wrap up your
You
comments.
want 3 minutes? Try living inside of a loss that stretches for months, wrapped in red tape and unanswered calls.
Miss Lindsay, if I
Try
have to
explaining
ask
to a
again, the
grieving
microphone
family
will
why their
turn
daughter,
off.
their sister, their friend was not important enough for urgency. I am not here to beg. I am here to witness, hold you accountable, because Jax was worth fighting for. She still is, and we'll keep fighting until your actions finally catch up to the weight of her name. Please say it with me, and I will leave. Jax Grattan.
Jax Grattan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you everybody that came in to share your thoughts tonight. We're now going to move over to the business portion of our meeting, and I know that can feel very cold in the transition, so I want to first acknowledge and thank you all for coming in. So next up, we have the consent agenda. Do we have any items, council, that anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda? No. Okay. Will the clerk please read the consent agenda into the record?
The consent agenda is comprised of the following items. Item 5A, R 2025-41, approving participation of the City of Lakewood in a coordinated election to be conducted on November 4th, 2025 by the Jefferson County Clerk and Recorder. Item 5B, R 2025-42, approving the 2025 appointments and reappointment nominations to the Board of Directors for the Alameda Corridor Business Improvement District. Item 6A, O 2025-25, declaring the intent of the City of Lakewood to acquire interest in property for the public purposes for the construction of pedestrian, drainage, and traffic signal facilities along the south side of 20th Avenue from Van Street to Reed Street, and authorizing negotiations with property owners, acceptance of conveyance instruments, and condemnation of real property interests, subject to further council approval. Item 6B, O 2025-26, declaring the intent of the City of Lakewood to acquire interest in property for public purposes for the construction of a storm drain system on West 3rd Avenue, east of Depew Street, and authorizing negotiations with property owners, acceptance of conveyance instruments, and condemnation of real property interests, subject to further council approval. Item 7A, approving minutes of the City Council meeting, special council meeting, July 14, 2025.
Now we have public comment for the consent agenda, and I have no one signed up for public comment on the consent agenda. May I please have a motion?
Mayor Strom, I move for the approval of the City Council minutes, order all ordinances introduced on first reading to be published in the Denver Post with public hearing set for the date included in the ordinance, and for adoption of resolutions, all of which are included in the consent agenda item introduced into the record by the city clerk.
Second.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we'll open it up. Do we have any council questions before we vote? Okay, all right. Go ahead and cast your vote. And that passes 11 yeses and 0 nos. Will the clerk please read 9A into the record?
Item 9A, second reading and public hearing on O 2025-22, authorizing a supplemental appropriation of $1,270,000 to the 2025 revised annual budget, including $870,000 to be appropriated from the Open Space Fund and $400,000 to be appropriated from the Stormwater Enterprise Fund, and authorizing the expenditure of these funds in performance of the improvements authorized by the 2023 IGA with the Mile High Flood District regarding Dry Gulch and Two Creeks Park.
Thank you. And we'll now open the public hearing. I do not have anyone signed up to speak on this item. I will take a second just to point out, I mentioned earlier, Lakewood Speaks is our online forum. Public comments can go in there, obviously. You've heard that a few times. This topic has also a staff's presentation that is aligned with it online. So if you have questions about that, there's more supporting information there. We do not have a presentation from staff this evening. So no public comments on this item. May I please have a motion?
I move for the adoption of ordinance O-2025-2022 on second and final reading.
Second.
All right, we'll open up council comments or questions. Councilor Isabel Cruz.
Thank you. I did not want to let this pass without speaking to how excited folks are for this park, which is coming into existence after about 14 years of planning, advocacy in the community, staff trying to put pieces of land together in a part of town where it's really hard to make new parks, and where people don't have equitable access to green space. And so there was some surprises under the land, and I am really glad that we were able to invest these funds to bring this critical amenity to a part of our community that this is going to be really special. And so thank you to staff, and I'm excited to support this.
Councillor Dave Ryan.
Yeah, I just want to echo that and just remind folks that the city really is trying to work hard to add parks to the city. We're not done yet. There's more to come, hopefully, and this is, I think, a really important piece and a really important part of town that can really use this fantastic amenity, hopefully, when it's done.
Okay, seeing no more hands up, please go ahead and cast your votes. All right, and that passes 11 yeses and 0 noes. Will the clerk please read item 9A2 into the record?
Item 9A2, R 2025-43, approving an amended intergovernmental agreement with the Mile High Flood District for design and construction of drainage, channel, and park improvements for Dry Gulch and Two Creeks Park.
Thank you. And also, no one signed up to speak for the public hearing on this topic tonight. May I please have a motion?
I move for the adoption of Resolution 2025-23 on second and final reading.
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the floor and a second. We'll open it up to any council questions or comments at this time. All right, seeing none, please go ahead and cast your vote. That passes 11 yeses and 0 noes. Will the clerk please read item 9B into the record?
Item 9B, O 2025-23, declaring the intent of the City of Lakewood to acquire interest in property for public purposes for the construction of storm sewer facilities to the west of Wadsworth Boulevard, along West Colfax Avenue to Dover Street, and authorizing negotiations with property owners, acceptance of conveyance instruments, and condemnation of real property interests, subject to further council approval.
Okay, and we will open the public hearing on item 9B, and I do not have anyone signed up to speak on that topic. May I please have a motion?
I move for the adoption of Ordinance O-2025-23 on second and final reading.
Second.
Point of order. I think I misspoke on the resolution.
It was honestly a typo. He'd read it totally in, and then he said the wrong number. It was clearly two
Okay.
numbers, so we just treated that like we would any clerk's error.
Okay, thank you. So the motion and second stand.
Okay. Okay. Yes, I have no one signed up to speak on this topic. We'll go ahead and open it up to council comments and questions, and I have Councilor Isabel Cruz.
Thank you. Just for the public and for anybody who's listening in, this is another really critical investment in our West Colfax corridor regarding trying to mitigate a floodplain that makes economic development hard on Colfax, that makes maintaining in your home and not getting it flooded hard on Colfax and around Colfax. And I recently had a constituent ask me, what are we doing about that? So I don't think everybody knows about the North Dry Gulch. So if you don't know about it, please visit northdrygulch.com. And I am excited to support this. Thank you.
Staff presentation on lakewoodspeaks.org if you want to know more. Okay. All right, I have no more council hands up, so we'll go ahead. Please cast your vote. That passes 11 yeses and 0 nos. Will the clerk please read item 9C into the record?
Item 9C, O 2025-24, prospectively accepting a deed from Urban Drainage and Flood Control District, DBA Mile High Flood District, to the City of Lakewood for 170 Yukon Street, City of Lakewood, County of Jefferson, State of Colorado.
Okay, and we'll go ahead and open the public hearing on this one. And this is another item I do not have anyone signed up to speak on. So with that, we'll ask for a motion. Do you want to speak before the motion? We can do it.
Yeah, I just had a quick question about the property. Mile High, so it's water responsibilities is complicated to sometimes follow in property responsibilities. So just wanted to understand who will maintain the property. I assume the City of Lakewood, and what is that level of frequency? You know, some properties, they're on like a 18-month cycle of mowing, or for example.
Yes, thank you. I'll ask Ray Hill from the engineering division manager to come and answer that question. Ray Hill.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'm Ray Hill, City Engineer of Capital Projects and Utilities. So regarding the maintenance of this property, it would follow the same iteration of all of the maintenance of our properties throughout the city. Those are typically at least inspected once a year for needing maintenance, and those maintenance activities are done as needed.
So if a community member comes frustrated about this property, hypothetically, it would be a conversation then to direct to our public works staff. Perhaps it needs a little attention.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Lowe.
Yes, thank you. Always good to see you up here, Mr. Hill. Thank you, as always, for all your work and diligence for the city. A closely related question. Can I just, I think fairly routine or straightforward, but like, what will happen with this property once it's acquired? So other than sort of the maintenance costs, like I assume since the whole point is to sort of acquire it for the purposes of floodplain maintenance, that nothing would be built on it, or is that a possibility down the road, or?
One of the action items of our previous comprehensive plan was to identify means to acquire properties within major drainage ways for the use of maintaining and installing future flooding projects. So this is one of those means by which we're doing that in partnership with Mile High Flood District. Specifically with this property on South Lakewood Gulch, the 1978 master drainage plan identified future improvements that would be needed within that. I don't have the specifics on the exact improvements that are needed there. We would, in a future time when that project is identified in our capital program to move forward to do those improvements, we would design and then construct those, likely in partnership again with Mile High Flood District. Until that time that those activities are completed, we would not be moving forward with any sort of plan except for potentially survey work, pre-construction, leading up to that design.
Got it. And I assume any future improvements that the city funds or pays for would either come back in front of council or would be included in the budget in the sort of the normal course of budgeting for that sort of thing?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more hands up, may I please have a motion?
I move for the adoption of Ordinance O-2025-24 on second and final reading.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor, and any final questions before we cast votes? No? Okay, please go ahead and cast your vote. passes 11 yeses and 0 noes. Will the clerk please read item 10A into the record?
Item 10A, public hearing on the housing needs assessment.
Short and brief, thank you very much. And council, to let you know, and for community members that are following along, this is an item that the city council does not actually need to vote on. We will have a public hearing on it in addition to our presentation. So first, I will introduce Chris Connor, our Housing and Thriving Communities Manager, to give the presentation this evening.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. Thanks for having me here tonight to share some information about the Denver Regional Council of Governments Housing Needs Assessment. My name's Chris Connor. I'm Manager of Housing and Thriving Communities for the city. The pronouns I go by are he, him, and his. The state of Colorado's Sustainable Affordable Housing Assistance Law was passed in May of 2024. So this is 3 months after this body, in a different form, passed the city's first strategic housing plan for the city. That plan did appendix a similar assessment around housing need in the city of Lakewood. This is one that's been done regionally through Dr.Cog. I'll say Dr.Cog, Dr.Cog's Denver Regional Council of Governments for those tuning in. Shortly after that, Dr.Cog published their regional assessments. Their regional assessment came through in July of 2024. So this presentation delivered tonight, July 28th of 2025, to Lakewood's City Council, along with submission of comments to tonight's presentation, complies with the responsibilities set forth in that law of Sustainable Affordable Housing Assistance Law. That law requires local communities to complete a housing needs assessment by the end of 2026, or they can participate within a regional housing needs assessment. I did contact DOLA, Department of Local Affairs, to see if the needs assessment that we did with our strategic housing plan sufficed, and they said it did not because it needed to align with some methodological considerations that came out of DOLA. So that's why we're presenting here tonight, and the DOLA needs assessment will carry our compliance to that law. That's not to say that we can't use additional needs assessment, additional information in our local planning. That's not to say that we can't do future needs assessment for ourselves, but for the sake of the compliance, our presentation tonight will suffice. So what we're going to do tonight here, we're going to detail those key findings in the regional assessment. Bear in mind that when we're talking about the region of Dr.Cog involves 7 county jurisdictions, and that's 49 different cities and towns. So when we're relating to the region, that information isn't Lakewood alone. You're going to hear some pretty startling numbers. It's important to differentiate that. But later in the presentation, we will hone in on Lakewood's piece of that regional assessment to get a clearer understanding of where we're at in the plan, or in the assessment. So Dr.Cog's analysis concludes that we need 511,000, I recognize it says 500,000 here, units to be identified through the 9-county region in a 27-year period that started in 2023 goes to 2050. We're not going to pay too much attention to that long horizon of 2050 because they also find that nearly 44% of those housing units need to be identified by 2032. So giving us a 9-year window there. That's what we're going to hone in on. This would be a pace of 24,777 units being identified annually in the region before 2032. So this is greater than the number of housing units that currently exist in Parker, Colorado, which is estimated about 22,000, but it's not as many as in Castle Rock, which is 27,000, that would need to be layered across the region every single year. So it's essentially building a city of residential and layering that on top of those 9 counties. So to put this in further perspective, the average household size in the metro area is 2.21 individuals, right? So 223,000 homes would support layering a full population of the city of Boulder into the Denver metro region. So this chart here if I can get my paper to not stick together, identifies that of the 223,000 units that need to be built by 2032, over 60%, or about 135 of those, need to meet households earning 0 to 50% AMI. We would consider this very low income, and that's as a technical term because the concept of low income housing or low income AMI extends up to 80%. So if you're at 50% AMI and below, which is 60% of the housing that needs to be identified, that comes in at about $49,000 a year for a single family household and $70,000 if you're a family of 4. If you extend that though to all of people that are considered low income by AMI, that shifts incomes to about $73,000 a year for a single occupant and $104,000 for that family of 4. I want to move from that regional perspective, however, and narrow in on Lakewood's housing needs. We know that housing markets are a regional issue. People move throughout different cities across 9 counties and commute across those lines as well. But the distribution of housing need throughout the region is going to differ. It's going to change, right? DRCOG approached the regional assessment by looking at the current and future impact of 4 different categories: housing, population, employment, and transportation. So they looked mainly at the current state of housing, but those other, transportation and commuting, employment development, and the population development in local communities is what they really leverage to provide projection on their housing. Furthermore, they looked at the current status of those 3 categories, but they also mainly took a forward-looking approach. So about 72% of the weight of influence on these factors comes from future transportation needs, future projections and employment needs in local communities, and future projections of population and demographic. Before we get to talking about units, however, I did want to take a moment to talk about people in the city of Lakewood who are cost burdened with housing. We're familiar, and some of you can readily recite these numbers, but cost burden is a measure of the amount of a household's income that goes into their housing and utility costs. So while AMI is the measure of how much income you produce, cost burden would be a measure of how much gets consumed by the rent, the mortgage, the utilities in your house. So to be considered cost burdened, a household would need to spend 30% or more of its income on housing. The category of severe cost burden, like we like to add those adverbs, right? We like to say that they're very low income or you have severe cost burden, applies when a household reaches spending half of its income on housing related costs. So you can see here that the information moves quickly and in a pretty negative direction for housing affordability. These bars present census data in 2000 alongside the American Community Survey data from 2022, so it doesn't necessarily bring us up to 2025. But in those 2 years, we see the rate of cost burden increase from about 38% to more than 52% of our Lakewood residents experiencing cost burden in the city. Let's get back to the unit costs, though. That's people's experience in the city. For units, what do we currently have? The DRCOG assessment would point to 70,600 housing units currently existing in the city of Lakewood at the time of their assessment in July of 2024. The assessment estimates that Lakewood needs to identify 8,640 additional units in that 9-year period by 2032 to meet our portion of the housing need, the totality that's across the region. So this is about 6.4% of what the total housing need across the region would be. So I'm really glad this slide came through. Thank you, Jay. For those of you who looked at it on Lakewood Speaks on a PDF version, it didn't translate positively. But to be expeditious, when you pull information from the dashboard on this study, it's bar graphs for different fields, so I'd have to walk through them one by one. What I did is I took this and I made an area chart. So this chart shows the level of housing need in both rent and sale categories. So the green shaded boxes are the housing need that needs to be found for rental. The blue would be for housing that needs to be developed for sale. And all of those smaller boxes are different levels of AMI. So the size of the box indicates the total amount of that type of housing that needs to be created for the labeled AMI level, as well as the housing type. So you can see at a glance where the challenges are the largest. So the important thing here, the most significant housing need in Lakewood is for deeply affordable rental housing at very low income, 0 to 50% AMI. If the need is extended to include the 0 to 50% AMI as well as rental for all low income, so that 50 to 80%, the need is just shy of 4,600 units. This would be twice what the DRCOG assessment made for all need for all of the for sale housing in the blue section. Finally, just to wrap up with some key takeaways from the housing needs assessment. This isn't the presentation that shows us the way out of this woods, unfortunately. It sticks on the needs side. So to reiterate, Lakewood needs 8,640 units identified by 2032, according to this assessment, and the majority of these units need to target 0 to 50% AMI. The housing needs for renters at this income is 184% of the housing need for all for sale units, and that's not to disparage or neglect the need to develop and create for sale opportunities as well. But the focal need, the most anchoring need, is for very low income renters. At the time of the regional housing needs assessment, over half of Lakewood residents were cost burdened by their housing arrangement, and that's data that's coming back from 2022, so not the most current. 1 in 4 Lakewood residents were spending half of their income or more on housing alone. Similarly, housing challenges endure throughout the 9-county region, so our initiatives, our input into solving this challenge needs to be met with the efforts and encouragement of our regional partners as well. But with that, I want to note that questions or comments are going to be tracked and taken back to DRCOG. They need to be recorded and given to them in order for us to comply with the state law I mentioned earlier, but we can wrap up there and take questions.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. I do have one hand up so far, Mayor Pro Tem Sharazai.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Connors, thanks so much for sharing this. Really pleased to see the DRCOG tool being used. We talked about this at length and on that body. And I just want to underscore for the community, and I know that you did a great job of highlighting this, but this really was meant to be an additional tool for municipalities who maybe had assessments that weren't in compliance with what DOLA's regulations are, because they're building it as they fly. And so really important to just note that this regional tool is going to allow a lot of municipalities to access next steps in this process, and so thankful for that. I also think it just reinforces the point that is often being made that the housing needs in our community are not misaligned with the region's needs, and that 60% of ours need to be available for our most vulnerable. I also think it's important to highlight and underscore that we hear a lot about ownership, and I think that there is a reframing of our thinking as a community, and that the American dream of, owning a home and starting a family has evolved, and right now we're looking at rentals as being the primary path forward to meeting our housing needs, and I really think that this is really highlighted in that, so I appreciate you reinforcing that at the end. And then in my last point, I imagine that none of our cities across the region are listening to our council meeting, and that's fine, but I just really want to reinforce the point that's being made, and I often feel frustrated around the lack of regional approach in this and how we hear from our partner communities about home rule erosion. And I think that the numbers that you presented here tonight and the study and the assessment that we're seeing is just speaking to a broader picture around how this is not a uniquely Lakewood problem, and we all really need to be in this together. So just thank you for your time on that.
Thank you.
Councillor Lowe.
Thank you, Mr. Connor, and thanks for taking the time to present all this. Totally second that. I just wanted to double click on one number that struck me. So the Dr. Carr presentation is Lakewood needs 8,640 units identified by 2032, and of that, about half needs to be 0 to 50% AMI, correct? That's sort of one of the key takeaways, right?
That's correct. That's coming from blending the data on the charts provided from their dashboard into the area graph.
So by my math, I mean 7 years. That means we need to be to meet that. We'd need over 1,200 new homes per year, half of them at 0 to 50% AMI, right?
Plus preservation, I presume, of what is currently out there existing.
Right, to not lose. And the point you're making, just for the benefit of the community, is if we lost units that are currently sort of deed restricted affordable or affordable, naturally occurring affordable, and we lost those, that would actually put us deeper in the hole, right?
Correct. And I do want to note, though, that group living and such, we may find some economies within policy that comes forward, that lessens the number of built units that are needed, maybe because more people are living together unrelated.
Great. So SWEEP had a great blog post just a couple of months ago where they looked at sort of building permits in Lakewood. They found that 185 permits were for new homes for Lakewood in 2024, 153 in 2023. It is a little bit higher in 2021 and 2022. So it doesn't take a huge amount of mathematical skills to see that's well short of 1,200, right?
Right.
And forgive me for I just want to sort of underscore the point. If we think about the 600 plus sort of new units that need to be affordable at 50% AMI or lower, it's also fair to say, and I'm not, this is not, I think, an indictment of Lakewood. This is a challenge across the entire region. It's fair to say that we have not been on pace to meet that in the last couple of years, correct?
My sense is, permitting is going to ebb and flow, but that would be correct, yeah. And SWEEP, for what you mentioned SWEEP's blog posts, they relied on the same dashboard data that's built into this presentation.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah. So just to sum up, it would be fair to say, at least based on the Dr. Cog numbers, for anyone that is coming to us and saying there's actually a housing surplus in Lakewood or there's too much housing in Lakewood, this presentation these numbers pretty conclusively suggest that is not true.
Yeah, I would encourage interacting with the Dr. Cog dashboard itself, where you can pull down that data and see for yourself. But that would be my conclusion as well.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Isabel Cruz.
Thank you. Appreciate the presentation, Mr. Connor, and also just putting some of these numbers into perspective with what growth means, because I think that can be a really challenging part of this conversation, and what does that many units look like in my community? And so just want to see that I'm understanding correctly from the chart that showed how many units we currently have to how many units we need. It's about a 12%-ish increase in the number of units.
Yeah, I don't think I ran the percentage increase there, but currently we have 70,600 based off of Dr. Cog's assessment, and the need on top of that is 8,640.
Great. Yeah, that's helpful. And because I think sometimes when people see cranes or we talk about these housing conversations, it can feel like, and I've had community members, how much do you want Lakewood to grow by? It's really a modest number, but it's a meaningful number. And it's, as Councillor Lowe was speaking to, not what we're meeting. And so I think it's really helpful to be able to put these things into perspective. So thank you for doing that. And then this is a little bit of a pivot question, so totally fine if this is not top of mind for you, but in reading kind of the legislation that is requiring municipalities to do this, they were talking about DOLA figuring out affordability strategies, displacement risk mitigations. Are those things that we can have access to or figure out to try to help inform us on how we figure out how to get to these numbers?
Oh, in terms of what DOLA's I'm sure that they'll be letting us know.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Councilor Ryan.
This is incredibly helpful, and for me at least, I've been focused on the numbers that I thought were in the Prop 123, and that was 60% AMI. But yet the focus here is showing the greater need is at the majority of what it's identifying is less than 60%. Does Prop 123 require us to do something under 60% AMI?
No, it's 60 AMI or beneath.
Right.
We can certainly target lower AMIs than that and still have that count towards our Prop 123 goals.
So if we could somehow magically build 8,000 plus units that are, let's say, 60% AMI, do we meet, I mean, we don't meet the greater need of our citizens or residents, but we would meet Prop 123? Is that how that would play? I'm trying to figure out how these play against each
if
other.
If that situation were the case, if we were able to, build 8,000 units at 60%, my sense is we would meet both of those objectives.
Okay, but what this identifies is not just the Prop 123, but also the special need that we also have beyond that piece. And that this, at least for me, that's where this study really comes into play, and it's really helpful, so thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you to Dr. Cog and everyone who's been involved in it.
Yep. Bear in mind that this isn't a state-produced study. It's produced by Dr. Cog. So the state set those Prop 123 levels, but this study is pointing the need even lower. So they're two different organizations.
Thank you.
That's all the questions we have. That's all the hands we have up. Thank you very much, Mr. Connor. And again, this is not anything that we need to vote on. This is simply for presentation and public hearing tonight, and I do not have anyone signed up to speak on this topic here this evening. And just a quick reminder that lakewoodspeaks.org is available and open on this for anybody that would like to make a comment now that you've seen more of the presentation and heard the questions. So with that, we will move on to our next topic. Will the clerk please read item 10B into the record?
Item 10B, public hearing on R 2025-44, approving the City of Lakewood Comprehensive Plan and Vision Lakewood 2040.
Okay, thank you so much. And for this topic, we do have a presentation available on lakewoodspeaks.org, as well as we will get a live in-person presentation this evening. And with that, we will start. I'll hand the floor, Mr. Wadnall, to you. Roger Wadnall, our planning manager, and Christy Ivanov, senior planner, will be giving the presentation tonight.
Great, thank you, Mayor and City Council. We are here after a 2.5-year process to bring forward the comprehensive plan to City Council for Council's approval. Again, Roger Wadnell, Comprehensive Planning Manager, and Christy Ivanov, who is the project manager of the comprehensive plan. Again, this process represents a broad spectrum of individuals, community members that have been involved in this project, as well as staff and supportive consultants, to develop a plan that is looking 15 years into the future of Lakewood. I'll let you do that. And really, it has represented surveys, advisory groups, individual meetings, comments online, a lot of meetings, a lot of inputs, and especially with the advisory groups that were very valuable in developing this plan itself. Go to the next one, please. And again, just really high level, the comprehensive plan is the city's vision. It is beyond the city's vision. It articulates goals and strategies, in this case for the next 15 years with the city of Lakewood, and it is a guiding document. And it, the input from just a large number of community members and a diverse reflection of the community. And again, the plan is a tool that not only staff and city leaders will use, but the community as well. So it's a guiding document that is very important for the next 15 years. It is not zoning, it is advisory, and it sets the framework for the city for the upcoming future. And again, the requested action tonight, we'll talk a little bit, we'll get a little more background, but the requested action is for City Council to approve Envision Lakewood as a 2040 comprehensive plan. And we'll go to one more. And just wanted to highlight before Christy will talk a little bit about process and what really got the plan to this point. But it is a result of direction from City Council. Again, key inputs from the advisory group that were appointed by City Council. A lot of surveys, a lot of information from the community, and it's based on a lot of data from Dr. Cog and other sources as well as consultant support. So it's been a very, very detailed effort that has happened over the past 2.5 years to bring it to this point, and working with the Planning Commission as well, and the Planning Commission has adopted the plan. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Christy to talk a little bit about process.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Again, my name is Christy Ivanoff, and I am a senior planner within the comprehensive planning process. On behalf of the entire project team, I'm very excited to be here tonight and present and celebrate all the work that went into developing the Envision Lakewood comprehensive plan, final draft plan. We can't talk about the comprehensive plan without the process and the engagement. So I promise these will be condensed, but I will go into a little bit more detail of the process and the engagement process. So this updated comprehensive plan is the product of, again, an extensive multi-year planning process that is shown here on this slide. The city started the planning for this comprehensive plan update back in fall of 2022, and this involved research and internal prep. We then launched the public process in January 2024 to develop the content of the plan. In February of this year, 2025, we had an early draft of the plan ready, and we began phase 3, which we are currently in, the adoption phase. During this phase, we have updated the plan to reflect all the feedback from both Planning Commission and City Council. On April 23rd, Planning Commission adopted the plan as Lakewood's updated comprehensive plan. So we are here tonight for your consideration of approving this plan as the final step of the adoption process. Again, we have presented the details of the engagement process and the content of the plan at length in previous meetings and presentations. And so tonight, we just have a few slides that I'll share as a summary. Again, we launched the public process back in 2024, and we had the goal of hearing from as many community members as possible through a variety of activities and opportunities. There were several community-wide events and opportunities to participate, such as open houses, surveys, and pop-up events. And there were also 3 City Council-appointed volunteer advisory groups that were formed to have in-depth conversations about the vision, goals, and policy direction for this plan. Again, another big thank you to all the advisory group members for their time and dedication to this process. And thank you to the Planning Commissioner, staff, and consultants for participating in all the meetings and events for the advisory groups. And here's the engagement number snapshot that we have been using to keep track of making sure we have a variety of activities and opportunities to participate. So all of the input gathered during these activities throughout the last 2.5 years, led directly to the drafting of the content of the Envision Lakewood 2040 comprehensive plan, which is organized by 2 core elements, the vision elements and the future land use elements. Both of these are reflected in the table of contents of the plan. The vision elements are made up of the vision statement, 5 guiding principles, 25 goals, and 160 strategies. Together, these define the shared vision, values, and priorities for the city throughout the next 15 years up until 2040. The future land use elements then reinforce and geographically map these vision elements. And this section includes the future land use map and 9 future land use categories shown here on this slide. So that was a very brief recap of the engagement process and the details of the plan itself. Once again, we would like to thank everyone who's been a part of developing this plan. It has been nearly 3 years in the making and will guide us for the next 15 years. Again, as mentioned, on April 23rd, 2025 of this year, Planning Commission adopted the Envision Lakewood 2040 comprehensive plan and recommended for City Council's approval. So tonight, staff respectfully requests that you all, City Council, approve the Envision Lakewood 2040 plan as adopted by Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you both for your presentation. While we have our presenters up here, Council, do we have any questions to get us started tonight? Okay, seeing no immediate hands up, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing on this topic. I do have 2 names signed up to speak. First, we have James Grattan and then Karen Shantz. James Grattan? Okay, Karen Shantz? All right, well, if you'll start with your name and address, or name and ward, and then we'll get your 3 minutes started.
Great, thanks. Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and Town Council. My name is Karen Shantz, Ward 2. After attending the Planning Commission meetings this year and over the past few months, I was struck up by the great amount of people that showed up because of their love and passion for the Western heritage, the horses, the equines, the reasons that brought them to Lakewood, why they want to raise their kids in Lakewood, and that whole aspect of what Lakewood is for many of us. When it was approved that night by the Planning Commission, there was some language that Town Council added to add some more language regarding around equines, horses, things of that nature, which they kind of voted on the plan and said, with the understanding that this language will be added, which it was indeed added. I'm a Lakewood resident today because I bought a horse property and was able to have my horse here. So, and I know that the comprehensive plan entailed many hours of all the groups, all the meetings. I was there in January 2024 saying what I love most about Lakewood was horses and sustainability and a number of other different things. But for whatever reason, I think a good part of this population of our city was missed with the equine community. The number of people that showed up for the Planning Commission meetings when they thought that was going to be affected was huge. So I just had a proposal, and also in looking at our Lakewood heritage, we have Lakewood Cider Days, which talks about our agricultural heritage and so many of the things. We go to the historical park, there's all the history of what our community was. So I just proposed to the Envision 2020 vision statement. It now reads, Lakewood is a welcoming, inclusive, sustainable, and innovative community with thriving neighborhoods, attainable housing, economic opportunity, inspiring parks, and vibrant cultural amenities. And I just recommend that we add on steeped in an agricultural, Western, and equine heritage. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead. You were done with your comments? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And council questions, thoughts before we proceed forward with a motion? I'm sorry. You guys are quiet tonight. That's all I needed to say. Councilor Isabel Cruz, then Councilor Ryan, then Councilor LeBure.
Thank you. This is maybe just a process question for staff. So my understanding is that from what we've been told, is that the Planning Commission really has the jurisdiction of adopting the plan, and we have the jurisdiction of approving their recommendation. And so to make any changes to the plan, we would need to reject the plan, send it back to the Planning Commission, and then do this again, right? Okay. I just think that that's important for the folks in the public to know, with so many of the hours that went into this, that it is why I am going to vote to approve it as is, but would love to continue to speak with my fabulous Ward 2 residents who are part of our equestrian community to continue to figure out how to strengthen that in our programming.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you. So I'm trying to understand a little bit more about the document. And it's my understanding the comprehensive plans in the past have been, if you will, legally binding, and now this one is aspirational. So how, in terms of planning and permitting, will this document be used, if at all?
The comprehensive plan in the past and currently is an advisory document. Zoning is legally binding, but it's a guiding. Hopefully, I can answer your question. But it's to guide decision making that could be reflected in the zoning ordinance or other legal documents and that sort of thing. But it is advisory.
I understand this one is advisory. In the
Yes.
past, it was supposed to be legally binding. Whether they were treated as legally binding or no, that's a different story,
Okay,
perhaps.
but that's what this one is. Yes.
I'm just trying to get my head around if I'm a citizen and I'm unhappy with a proposed development, for example, and I can point to something in the comprehensive plan, is it going to get a kind of a head shrug? So what? Because it's not binding on anyone. It's just kind of an aspirational, these are goals that we want to meet, but gosh, oh golly, I'm just trying to figure out how we're going to incorporate this in our planning and our permitting beyond the zoning, right? I understand the zoning ultimately is trying to implement large portions, if not all of this.
For example, in a zoning proposal for rezoning for a property, one of the criteria is to meet, does the project meet the comprehensive plan? And that has been with the previous comprehensive plan, and that would be with this comprehensive plan. That is, one of the criteria for approval for zoning. For site planning, it's a little bit more negotiated, but certainly for site plans that come in, staff looks at the comprehensive plan, and for any development proposal, looks at the comprehensive plan as for guidance in terms of the policies.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor LeBure.
Thanks, Mayor. Are we also just commenting on the document now, or are we just asking questions? Sorry, kind of missed it. Okay. Well, I'll just make a few comments. So I think, first of all, I just want to thank everyone who worked on the plan, staff, community members, all of the meetings we had on council, everybody for all of your engagement. It's been very interesting watching the process play out. Of course, we were talking about this a couple years ago, so it's nice to finally be at a point where we're almost moving on to the next steps. So I just want to acknowledge that, and I want to thank everyone for all the work they did. And I just want to point out a couple things, and actually it kind of builds off of what Councilor Ryan already mentioned, which is just that there's a lot of things in here I really like, and I want to comment on those first. Some of those is that I really enjoy, I really like that all these strategies are in the plan. I think it really gives council really an idea of things to work on. There's a lot of stuff about VMT and about greenhouse gas emissions. So there's a lot of good stuff that anybody in the community or council can look at and say, this is a goal we've agreed to trying to tackle, and there's some guidance in there about how to meet those goals. So I think that's a very awesome positive about this plan. And so from that perspective, I'm really excited about the plan. But I also wanted to comment just a little bit about some of the things I find challenging with it. One of those being, I do think it sort of adds a little bit of sort of fresh ambiguity and introduces that into the community. And, you know, this council for a long time has been accused year after year of having a comp plan that people in the community feel like doesn't meet the reality of the zoning code. And I do think with some of the form zoning and sort of the broader nature and the consolidation of some of the zoning, I do think it adds a little bit of ambiguity. And one example I just want to point out is I think the parks being low form zoning. I think that's one example. I think having like a park zone would be a simpler way to do that, because if you look at the low form zoning in a park, if you read it, it doesn't, you know, it's going to talk about all the things you can build. And I think community members are going to look at that and say, oh, look, you can build, you know, low form housing in a park, which I think is confusing, which of course we know that's not true, because obviously we have our own restrictions in place to make that not happen. But I just wanted to point that out. I think there's a lot of good in this. I'm excited about the plan overall. But I do think with some of these big, broader sort of form type zoning changes, I do think we're adding some sort of fresh ambiguity. And I think that's, I don't have an answer for it, but I just want to comment that I recognize it. And I think it will be a challenge in the future, and I think we'll continue to grapple with that. Thanks.
Councillor Furman and then Councillor Lowe.
Well, I mean, some of what I have to say is probably redundant with the past two councilors, but again, I appreciate all the work that went in, and I was privileged to participate in some of the advisory committees. And yeah, it does seem to me, and I just wanted to circle back on this. My understanding, it is similar to the, and this is one I'm not sure about exactly how it was different before, but it does meet that same basic set of rules within zoning where it's either compliance, promotes, or is consistent with, and it's generally used, correct me if I'm wrong, when we're looking at things like identifying zone districts, minor waivers, or special use permits, which is why I think this is extraordinarily valuable. And I saw it used when I was on the Planning Commission as one of the items that projects were reviewed by. I will note that is the challenge, though, is that there is some ambiguity that allows it to either be used to make choices about special use, that sort of thing, or it may or may not be identified when somebody is reviewing the special use permits. And so I think it's a great document. I do think that some of the ambiguity will reduce some of its strength, but I do think it's the amount of work that went into it is good, and I do think it will have the same sort of impact it had in the past, which is to push those ideas into the zoning. It's a matter of whether or not that's quantitative or qualitative.
Councillor Lowe.
I just wanted to say I know how much work has gone into this. I just want to thank from the bottom of my heart staff for the hours and hours and hours of work that you've poured into this document. I think it's a great document. I'm so excited we get to approve it today. There's so many things in here that I'm enthusiastic about. I could practically do a 3-hour filibuster reading all the things that I love in this document. And I think it reflects a lot of sort of robust stakeholdering that's been done, a lot of community input. I'm going to read my 3 favorite sentences. And I'm going to just name that I think I think these could be interpreted as assignments to council and all of us to sort of fill in the parameters in here with additional further action. Strategy 8, increase crime prevention services. It talks about expanding other rigorously evaluated evidence-based strategies delivered in homes, schools, or in the community that have been shown to prevent and reduce a crime or reduce recidivism. A lot of great stuff happening already in Lakewood. Let's build on that and fund more. Homelessness resolution, goal 20. Make homelessness rare, brief, and singular for any household's experience through early, efficient, and effective connections to temporary, transitional, and permanent housing. health, income, and supportive services. Yeah, I'm here for that. Let's do that. Let's prioritize it. We've got more work to do on that. I love to see that in the final plan. And last, but certainly not least, strategy 110. Which talks about identifying and scaling evidence-based practices, invest in effective programs, and evaluate innovative housing solutions to ensure that housing policies and programs are data-driven and supportive of current housing needs, including an abundance of attainable housing to meet the long-term diverse needs of our residents. I have a feeling we're going to have a chance to act on that and move the ball forward on that in the coming weeks, given the zoning draft that I expect to come in front of council in the coming weeks. Seems like a real opportunity to increase the abundance of attainable housing to meet the long-term diverse needs of our residents. I'm enthusiastic about this plan. I can't wait to vote for it. Thank you for all the work that went into it. And now, to the other points my councilors raised, we've got to make sure that it's not just a long-term strategic plan, but a strategic plan that dictates action.
Thank you, Councilor. Seeing no more hands up, I want to also give a big thank you. I know this has been a behemoth effort for especially your department and lots of hours. Thank you so much for all the time that you all have spent out in the community trying to get this information, trying to disseminate information. It's fun to run into you so frequently at these meetings, so thank you very much for that. And for our community members that participated, that is priceless to have your voices and involved at such a deep level in this, because this document is something that as a city councilor I have used in the past to help me better understand the community that I'm serving. Many of us, we all live in specific wards, and maybe not, we've lived in different wards within Lakewood, but this document is really what allows us to better understand what's going on in different parts of the city and what our residents are truly asking for. So when we sit down in February for our strategic planning retreat every year and we're doing goal setting, this is one way for us to really make sure that we're anchored on some of the right things that our community is asking for. And I really appreciated that it looks at things that honestly I think many people wouldn't even expect out of a city comprehensive plan, like addressing food and health. It's outside of just building and infrastructure and the things that so many of us naturally expect. Connecting more with our indigenous groups to learn more about the history of this region. That was one of my favorites, that we were looking at this also through more of a social and historical lens as well. So I'm very excited to be using this as guidance as we move forward into the next 15 years, and want to say thank you to all of our residents that participated, and with staff, and to our planning commission that I know put lots of hours of time into the portion that they did as well. So thank you very much to everybody. And I don't see any more hands up. Do we have any more councilors that want to make comments prior to vote? Nope. Okay. All right. Well, please go ahead and cast your votes. And that passes 11 yeses and 0 noes. Thank you, everyone. And congratulations to our planning department. That was a lot of work. I don't know, after we get zoning done, what will you guys do? We got plenty. All right, thank you, everybody. Okay, now we move on to our second portion of general public comment tonight. And this again is the portion that is non-agenda related. So I do have 9 individuals here that are signed up to speak for this portion of public comment tonight. Ms. Salazar, do we have more down here? Okay, all right. Anybody else still wishing to add your name? There's a sheet right there, and you can certainly do so. We will start this evening, second section, with Latanya Davis, and then Saga Romig, and then Jamie Frederick. And again, when you come up, please state your name and address, or your name and ward, and then we'll get your 3-minute clock started.
Wendy?
Welcome.
You remember me from 2 years ago?
I remember you.
Yeah. because I don't think you deserve that position. Anyway, my name is LaTanya Davis. You don't even know where I live. I know what happened to Jax. You guys killed her just like you killed my mother. They abducted my mother on video January 7th when I called her missing. Do you remember me from that from a couple years ago? I called her missing January 9th. Detective Sarah Pallett told me she would find my mother frozen in a pipe. See this? Hi, Isabella. Y'all see my mother in this pipe right here? They stole her organs, okay? Annette Cannon, the coroner that you guys talk about, Dr. Holmes, they stole my mother's organs. There's footage of my mother being abducted. I see there's a shrine over there. How come there wasn't one for my mother? Look at the footprint on her head. I didn't report her missing to the 9th, y'all. This was premeditated, okay? They transported her to the hospital. You guys have seen the footage on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I signed up with the National Action Network. That's Reverend Al Sharpton's camp. Here's the bruises. I took these at the mortuary where you guys said there was no foul play. See that? They stole her organs, okay? We know what happened to Jax. You put her there, just like you put my mother here across the street from the Devil's Playground, which is owned by CDOT. Right? Y'all called it the 594 Webster Street Apartments. I went to the clerk and got the deed. It's owned by CDOT. Then you evicted my mother, and your mayor, Adam Paul, got a grant to move the bodies from the Devil's Playground. Nelson Gomez recorded it all, guys. These people are the Ku Klux Klan. I am here to tell you what God loves. I go by divine truth. I am telling the truth. I'm also on the board for the NAACP. Okay? I won in 2016 against 2 of Lakewood's finest. I wish Smith was still here, because he said there was no foul play. I had a meeting on March 16th and March 20th of this year in Lakewood. They said no foul play. Sergeant Mike Bell, no foul play. Attorney General Phil Weiser, no foul play. See the bruises on my mother? See that, the hammer that was taken to her head? Uh-huh. You guys are the Klan and you know you are. I'm here to tell it all. Don't stop, guys. Get justice. They killed Jax because she was different, just like they did my mother. Here's footage of my mother being abducted. You guys see that car right there? They didn't show me this car or this video. They took it from Nelson Gomez's house. He lives across the street from the Devil's Playground. I made video stills. You see that? You know what I'm talking about.
Ms. Davis, your time's expired.
Your time is expired. Your time is expired. Don't believe the hype, y'all. They killed her. Okay? Go to my page. Go everywhere. Justice for all the victims. Because when I knock on all the doors, guess what the neighbors call the property? The Devil's Playground. Right behind Canvas Bank. 594 Webster Street. They started construction. They stole her organs. Detective Pallett said
Okay,
she would
we
find
need to
my
call
mother.
up our next
Let me get
speaker.
my shit. Let me get my shit, Miss Klansman. Wendy Klan. I'm not scared of you. I'm not scared of none of you. Don't y'all be scared either. Let me get your numbers before we leave. Okay? Because I know what you did. Just like the movie, I know what you did last summer. I know what you motherfuckers did. You know what you did. You're devils. Oh, one more thing. Blood from Detective Sarah Pallett's boots. See the blood, y'all?
Can we have our next speaker, Saga Rebig, please?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
You don't deserve that position. You know you don't, Wendy. Nobody's mayor.
Okay, not seeing Saga Remig, I've got Jamie Frederick. Okay.
Yep, thank you so much. Sue all these motherfuckers. They are the Klan. The stuff that I have is unbelievable, guys. Unbelievable. And they're all in cahoots. The mayor got a grant the day after my mother was evicted because you owned her apartments. She couldn't flush her toilet for 4 years. And you killed her and stole her organs. Annette Cannon, Don Holmes. I'm not scared of you guys. Attorneys use my name all over the world. All over the world. I've never given one interview. I've never given one interview. But I said on the record in 2016, they was gonna kill somebody in my family. And they made good. They killed my elderly 69-year-old mother. Yep.
Go ahead and start.
Thank you, Mayor, and members of the council. My name is Saga Karina. I'm a trans woman living here in Jefferson County. I moved here to Colorado 2 years ago to escape oppressive laws in my home state of Kansas and for the promise of protections afforded us by CADA, the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act. It cost me everything I had to get here, and yet I still have to fight. I am here to urge all of you to fight for oversight and accountability for Jax Grattan and for all of the trans community. When the police spoke in press releases about Jax, she was called a transgender and was dead named to those in those communications to our community. Dead naming is not only devastating to trans people, but it's also legal here in Colorado. Protections that I helped to fight for and went alongside my community with the passage of the Kelly Loving Act by my testimony to the Senate Judiciary Committee about my personal experiences, along with many others, with employment and housing discrimination since moving here. We are here to demand justice for Jax, to demand oversight of the police, to demand answers, to fight for integrity and respect for all members of the community. We don't want some promise of those things at a nebulous future time. We demand these things now. We demand to be heard. We demand to be seen. We demand to be respected. And we demand justice now. Thank you.
Thank you. Jamie Frederick. And then Chris, I believe maybe Cook, and Analia Johnson.
Thank you. My name is Jamie Frederick. My pronouns are they, she, and I'm here today to speak on the need for an independent oversight committee. I'm here to represent the many trans people who I have seen and spoken with who are terrified, scared that this could be them, that their families, their friends, and their community could face the same struggles or worse if something happened to them. And I'm also here for the friends and family of Jax who I have seen struggle and fight every minute since she went missing. Because even if you won't, I will fight for my friends, my family, and my community. The deaths of trans people, and especially trans women, often get brushed aside by the police, and this investigation has further eroded the hope that anything would be done if members of my community are harmed. I am here in front of you today as a trans person who does not want to see their community further harmed by the careless actions of people who do not understand the dangers and pains we face. We need independent oversight. We cannot keep having our siblings' deaths brushed aside. And I want each and every one of you to look at the faces of all these people who came to fight for our lost sibling. I want you to look at the face of Jax on that altar there and ask yourselves, what if this was your daughter? What would you want to see done? And how would you feel if it was your child we were fighting for? Think about that. Long live Jax.
Thank you. Chris Cook.
Good evening. My name is Chris, and I'm an Adams County resident who has come here asking for justice for Jax. I am sorry for the vagueness of my identity, but my child is trans, and the world has grown increasingly hostile for them. With the strong anti-trans positions the federal government has taken so far in 2025, the situation for transgender people has gotten worse. While I do want to protect my child, Jax's situation has touched my heart, and I am here asking for the community to bring justice for her. Like many, I was saddened to hear of Jax's death and many unanswered questions circling around it. As a father of a trans child, I have many fears relating to my own kid. Some of these fears are around them having a bad experience in a public restroom, over them losing access to gender-affirming health care, or their school becoming an unsafe place for them. But my number one fear is my child to be murdered and to end up as another statistic for a hate crime. This fear has led me to a recurring nightmare of being notified of my child's death. In this dream, I am bothered by a phone call while doing something seemingly important, only to pick up the phone and be told that my child was killed. This nightmare pales in comparison to what Jax's mother, Cheryl, has gone through. So what has Jax's mother faced? It is a police investigation that is slow and dragging its feet. It is investigators and a coroner who have reportedly belittled Jax's mother and treated Jax's remains like a package. It is a police department who continually dead-name Jax. It is a police chief who came to a previous council meeting to apologize and state he would do better to understand the community, only to turn around and walk out the door before hearing from Jax's supporters. And to get off of my written statement, he did the exact same thing outside as well. He approached the community, he could not stay, he had to back out. The way the Lakewood Police Department and the Jefferson County Coroner have conducted themselves has been pure nightmare fuel to the parents of trans children. The only way forward that I see for Jax is to get justice she deserves is through the formation of independent oversight committee devoted to transparency. Once justice for Jax has been delivered, and once the oversight committee delivers its findings, then hopefully the community and Jax's loved ones can begin to heal from this travesty. And maybe then I'll get a good night's sleep. Thank you.
Thank you. Analia Johnson.
Sorry, it's only two of us.
My
name's Anila Johnson.
We'll give you, you'll still get 3 minutes, right?
Yeah, we'll only need 3
Okay,
minutes.
perfect, thank you.
I am Veronica Diaz, and we are long-term residents of Ward 2. We are here as deeply concerned residents of Ward 2 regarding the escalating issues of homelessness, drug activity, and related crime in our neighborhood. This situation is unacceptable on many levels, from the safety of the residents and to the quality of our life. There are many encampments along 14th Avenue, and one just recently popped up right outside our door. We really enjoy spending time outside in our backyard, and over the last few weeks, we've witnessed a lot of alarming events. We witnessed a man openly carrying a machete along 14th Avenue. We witnessed frequent drug transactions and usage, prostitution, numerous instances of drug dealings and sales. And these occurrences are not isolated to just 14th Avenue, but it is a crisis throughout Ward 2. Both Anila and I have previously contacted both City Council and the Mayor's office about our concerns. While we do appreciate that Isabel Cruz responded to us, there's been no tangible action or resolution. We don't feel heard. This inaction is beyond frustrating, especially given that our property taxes have increased by over 200% over the last few years. At this point, we are no longer asking for help. We are demanding immediate and permanent solutions. At a critical first step, we urge you to reduce the time frame for homeless encampments from 72 to 24 hours after they have been marked by the CAT team. This change is essential to address the immediate public safety and health concerns posed by these encampments. Thank you.
I invite you to come down to 14th and Pierce at 5 p.m. to see exactly what your residents are dealing with. We are tired of dealing with this. I am afraid of our safety. We can't take our dog out at night because we're afraid of this man with a machete coming after us. This is an urgent matter, and I need your urgent assistance, please. Thank you.
Thank you both. Anita Springsteen? How about Alicia Swanton?
Hi, I'm Alicia Swanton. I am a resident of Jefferson County. I am here tonight to hopefully get to that part of you that has compassion and empathy and understanding. I want you to know that me and all these people behind us, even though Jax is a stranger to me, we went through alleyways, dumpsters, waterways, looking for anything we could find, putting stickers up trying to find her. I spent hours and months printing flyers out, going to malls, going to people, talking to people. I met an Indigenous woman who looks for dead bodies with search dogs, Indigenous people, because no one helps them. And while I was crying, she looked at me and said, I'll help you. Here's some search teams that maybe will help you guys out. So day after day after day, I know we've sat here for 3 hours. Imagine how you would feel not knowing where your loved one was for months, and just searching and hoping and just looking at people for any ounce of compassion that they could have or empathy that they could have, and saying, please, will you help me? I don't care if she's trans. I don't care if she's homeless. I don't care. I just want you to care about the compassion and the empathy, and to have that, and to understand that that is not what her family is getting. That is not what her friends are getting. They're not getting that. They're getting pushed aside like the fucking sandwich. I'm sorry, I caused my apologies. They're being pushed aside like the sandwich wrapper that you have and you throw in the trash, because what is it used to you? Nothing. You ate the sandwich, that's all you wanted. So please at least have the compassion and the empathy to look at them and understand that they are hurting. My sister was missing for 3 days. I wrote her letters. I went looking for her. We found her alive. Imagine how they feel. You know where I was the day they found Jax? I was on 88th and Washington, going through strip malls and hanging flyers up and going to hotels and talking to people, because I don't know, insurance companies, I didn't care. Anywhere I could go to help find her, because my mission was to make it impossible not to find her, because somebody had to care. So that's what I'm asking for you guys, is please just care. Just have compassion and empathy, and understand that that is not what they're getting. That's why they're angry. That's why they're sad. I know my time is up, so please, just give them the oversight committee that they need and have compassion. That's me begging you to help.
Thank you, Ms. Swanton. Liam Benson, and then Elio Rivera. Liam Benson. Elio Rivera. And then, Mr. Robb, if you have a list, or Ms. Salazar, okay. Okay, will you call?
After Mr. Rivera, we have Bradley Bruce and then Jackie McKean.
Mike, Urichi, Council, hello. My name is Elio Rivera, and my pronouns are they, them. My ancestors have lived on this land for thousands of years, and I've lived in North Aurora my whole life. I'm transgender, Indigenous, an artist, an advocate, and a parent of 2 amazing children. I'm here to give my voice to Jax Grattan. I'm here for her incredible mother, her family, and our trans community. We demand that an independent oversight board holds the Lakewood Police Department, its police chief, and the Jefferson County Coroner's Office accountable for their conduct so far in this investigation. The outcome of this decision will change the future of transgender rights in Colorado. I'm here to tell you why it should matter to you, but first, I'll tell you why it matters to me. What happened to Jax could have happened to me. Around a week before Jax went missing, my former friend and I went out. She and I headed home late that night. While walking down Colfax, the same street that Jax was found near, someone sitting on the curb jumped up and spat venomous curse words and transphobic slurs at us. He didn't stop following us until I loudly pretended to get on the phone with 911. I pretended because I doubted the police would help us. I doubted it because when I reported a sexual assault in January, I was misgendered by the detective, never contacted again, and the DA dismissed my case. I ask you, if I were to be killed, would my case be treated with respect, both in public and behind closed doors? So far, I'm inclined to believe the answer is no, as evidenced by the police chief's clear disrespect and visceral disgust for my community. The level of distrust between trans people and law enforcement is costing us our lives, but it also costs police and elected officials too. Evidence shows that when a police department or politician expresses genuine concern for the needs of their community through transparency, accountability, and shared community values, they're much more respected by the people that they serve. One value I found to be consistent nationwide in law enforcement policy that actually treats transgender people with respect is that the transgender person be addressed by their preferred names and pronouns. Jax didn't get that basic human respect. An oversight committee for her case is the first step that this council needs to take towards acknowledging that trans people are allowed to exist. Choosing to deny her family the right to have an investigation oversight board is a choice that will put you in the history books, but the wrong one, the wrong side. I ask you, as a human being, as a parent, and as someone who is transgender, that you will make the choice that will make your community a safer place, not just to be trans, but to be human. Toyak, thank you for your time and consideration. Justice for Jax.
Thank you. Mr. Robb, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Bradley Bruce, then Jackie McKean.
Hello, my name is Brad Bruce. I live in Ward 2. I'm here to ask the City Council to implement an independent oversight committee over the Lakewood Police. It is unacceptable that they have so thoroughly botched the investigation into Jax's death, but it is also not surprising to me at all. The police have absolutely no real oversight, and thus they have absolutely no incentive to do their jobs in a way that promotes public trust and accountability. Why would they? The same people in charge of investigating potential crimes and wrongdoings are their coworkers. They're the same people that they see every day in the office. That's why I reject the idea that an oversight committee can have any sort of police officer presence on it. You wouldn't appoint city staff to the Lakewood Advisory Commission or the Planning Commission, so why would you allow police officers to be on the Police Oversight Committee? It's also frankly kind of ridiculous that we're having this conversation in a post-2020 George Floyd world. This country has broadly already seen what the police do when they think no one is watching, and it's pretty unanimously horrible 100% of the time. One thing that hasn't been mentioned this evening is that last Friday, President Trump signed an executive order titled Ending Crime and Disorder on America's Streets. This executive order directs federal, state, and local agencies to, amongst other things, to seek the reversal of federal and state judicial precedent that impedes the civil commitment of individuals with mental illness or are on the street. This executive order is only going to embolden local police forces around this country to act more horribly to marginalized communities. People such as our unhoused neighbors, members of the LGBTQ plus community, people with disabilities, and non-white people. There is no oversight coming from the federal government. There's no oversight coming from the state or county governments, and thus, unfortunately, oversight can only come from this council. I urge you not to fail your constituents. I would also be remiss if I did not speak briefly on Israel's genocide of the Palestinians. In the last year and a half, Israel has killed confirmed 60,000 Palestinians, with tens of thousands still missing and presumed dead and buried under the rubble. Aid has been blocked from entering the Gaza Strip for the last 6 months, and as a result, 150 people have starved to death, almost 90 of them being children. Starving to death is not something that happens overnight. It is the result of decades of an illegal blockade, along with the destruction of the UN food distribution systems in Gaza. On top of the genocide in Gaza, the ethnic cleansing of the occupied West Bank continues. 2 weeks ago, the Israeli Knesset, Israel's main legislative body, voted to illegally annex the whole of the occupied West Bank territories. I will close with a quote from our congressional representative, Brittany Pedersen. This is a snippet of an email that Representative wrote in a June 26 email blast almost 1 month ago today. Quote, Congress and the administration must work together to keep the American people safe, de-escalate tensions, and seek peace wherever possible while supporting our ally Israel, unquote. Some ally, huh? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Miss.
Hello, good evening. My name is Jackie McKean. I'm a resident of Ward 1. And I wasn't originally planning on speaking tonight, but I feel like it's important to note that the demand for an oversight committee doesn't just come because Jax happened to die here. It comes because we as a community desperately need it. I share all the fears that have been shared tonight about potential mistreatment in my life and my death, and my families share the same fear. My mom, in hearing Jax's story, called, and we had a very tearful discussion on if this is a place I can consider safe around the world. That we're in a state in the world where I have to deeply consider like other places in the world at large and other cities in the country to know where I'm going to be safe. And seeing the treatment in Jax's death makes me question a bit whether Lakewood is one of those safe places for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and close general public comment and move on to general business. And with that, I'll give the floor to Councilor Nystrom to bring forward her request for council action.
Thank you, Mayor. It seems a little inappropriate after what we've witnessed tonight, but I spoke with many of you on council about this several weeks ago, along with the Sustainability Committee. I vetted it with the city manager, deputy city manager, as well as director of community resources. Essentially, this concept is to create a volunteer group of park stewards across Lakewood. They're already out there. Some of them we know, some of them we don't know, but they are there on a daily basis in their local parks, informing, educating, and promoting their parks to their neighbors. And they're keeping an eye out for concerns with wildlife, trees, and those types of things. One of the Ward 5 parks, Cottonwood Park, we already know there's a steward there that her name is Kathy Ruck. She approached me last year to talk to her about some things in the park that she thought would be enhancements. And the new director also accompanied us on a walk through the park, and we were able to make some very good environmental changes to that park. And I also had another constituent approach me about what other cities in Colorado do to protect their parks and to maintain participation and organization within their local neighborhood. I'm proposing that we build on that and let volunteers come forward. We can identify some of them. I'm sure some of you know with local parks around you who is actively involved in those types of things. We could build a network that will increase community engagement, participation, and awareness in the parks. And they can partner for activities, cleanup efforts, and those types of things. The other item that has someone has approached me about, and I've experienced myself, is conflicts between pedestrians, bicyclists, and anybody using the multi-use paths, bike paths in our communities. And I have seen very effective volunteer bike patrols or bike path stewards in different communities, in state parks, and things of that nature. And it really becomes a situation where they're out there to inform. They're volunteers that are out there to inform. They use the bike paths themselves, and they want to reduce those conflicts. And I think I've seen it used very effectively, and I think this is a great opportunity to take advantage of the fact that people are very passionate about their parks and using their parks and the safety of everyone that's using them. So my proposal is basically that we ask the LAC to do some benchmarking and learn a little bit more about what other communities do, what happens in state parks and regional parks today, and then ultimately come back to us with some information on this. And again, this could live under community resources, but it is a volunteer effort, and I think it's very much warranted with the growth of our population and people wanting to use parks and bike paths for different needs and different interests. And I think it would be a great opportunity for people to come together, get to know each other, and really make our parks more safe and usable for everyone. So, anybody have any questions for me?
Councillor Sinks.
Yeah, thank you for this suggestion. It's so great that many Lakewood residents are so eager to volunteer, and this would be a perfect way. But just for clarity, so you're asking that the LAC do research to benchmark, I think you said? And so we're not, so as we move forward with this, we're only authorizing the LAC to do the research maybe on what other cities, if other cities have these volunteers or park stewards, et cetera. Do I have that right then?
Yes, I mean, I have some information, and one of my constituents brought some information forward, which I could provide to them, but again, yeah, it's kind of to do benchmarking, figure out maybe the best options for implementing this, bring that back, and then we can discuss it in a study session.
Thank you, that's all.
So, Councillor Nystrom not really made a motion, but as these go, you guys know that the action is really making a motion. And with that, in order to move it forward, we do need a second. So do we have any second this evening?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cruz. And so we have a motion and a second on the floor. And at this point, I don't have any councillor hands up. Would still welcome those if anyone would have any questions, or we'll go ahead and cast a vote. All right, seeing no hands up, we'll go ahead and cast a vote. And I'll make a note, Councillor Matt Guerrero had to drop off. And with that, we have, do you need to lock her first?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mayor. There you go.
All right, thank you. Okay, that passes 10 yeses and 0 noes. We do not have an executive report this evening, so we'll go ahead and move on to city council reports. And with that, we'll start with Ward 3.
Thanks, Mayor.
I like to keep them surprised.
Well, thank you to everyone who came out tonight. Couple quick logistical notes. Councilman Cruz, we could try that. Councilman Cruz and I were at the first of 3 community meetings at Emory Elementary this past week for immediate neighbors of Emory to learn more about what the Action Center has in mind, if, the keyword being if, we move forward with the city doing a sale and transaction with the Action Center. We've heard from a number of our constituents that they want more information and more opportunities for dialogue with the Action Center. So there are 2 more that have been scheduled. One August 27th at 6 p.m. at Emory, and then a joint town hall meeting that I think the city is sponsoring or semi-sponsoring in some capacity on September 17th at 5:30 p.m. at Emory. So those are 2 more upcoming meetings, an opportunity for folks to learn more about what this would look like if it moved forward. I thought the discussion this past week was illuminating and frankly very helpful. So big thank you to the Action Center for helping to organize that, and for the neighbors that came by to learn a little bit more about that. Councilman Cruz and I are just finalizing the next ward meeting in August. There's a good chance it's going to be August 12th, but we need to confirm details. So stay tuned on that. We'll have more for you at the next city council meeting, and check your inbox for announcements. Usually with Ward 3, I get the benefit of hearing a couple of council comments before I go first, but I guess we'll just dive in tonight. A couple thoughts. I did want to speak again to the tragedy of Jax Grattan. I mean, one of the things that I think is a little bit challenging sometimes about these comments is we always make the very end of the meeting when a lot of the folks who, came and poured their heart out and made comments don't hear them. So I think it's appropriate that we hear everything and then respond at the very end, but sometimes it's also challenging because it feels like we don't actually get to engage in a dialogue with most of the people in the room. I just wanted to reiterate again, I assure you, because I know this council, all of us were listening really, really closely to the comments and listening to every word. And Jax sounds like an incredible woman, an incredible leader in our community. And I want to reiterate again, as has been said from this dais a number of times, just what an unspeakable tragedy this is. And I know a number of us up here, but also just in our conversations over the last few months are gutted about this, along with all of you, just gutted. I just found it heartbreaking, on top of, this being a heartbreaking tragedy, I have heard from Jax's mom, and in fact, I've emailed with her at some length. She's an incredibly kind, just clearly heartbroken email. It was one of the hardest emails I've ever gotten. And I want to validate what we've heard over and over again. I mean, the way that this case was handled and the way that it was communicated by a number of different parts of local government here in Jefferson County writ large really did compound her pain. And I don't want to beat around the bush. That's just not okay. It's awful, actually. And I want to say that unambiguously. And I also want to recognize nuance here. I mean, one of the things she did say is she called out and appreciated the kindness and compassion and diligence of a number of police detectives who work for Denver and Lakewood. This isn't a monolith. She's also had some very good interactions. And I also want to say, without in any way passing the buck, there is nuance here. A lot of the complaints, the frankly deeply disturbing complaints that we heard regarding the autopsy were not under the jurisdiction of the Lakewood police. I just want to mention that. I mean, they're under a totally separate office that's within the county government. And I really don't expect, nor can we expect, a mom in what has to be the worst period of her life to care very much about a bureaucratic detail like that. I'm also just heartsick to hear from Jax's mom about some of the hatred that she's been directed, that she's experienced and had subjected at her. It's really upsetting to me. I'm sort of have a reputation up here on this dais for being the kind of guy who's a little geeky and talks about evidence-based policy, and sometimes a little bit more comfortable talking about that than just talking about my own experience. I want to name, I really don't have lived experience of what it's like in any way, shape, or form to be a transgender person in our world today. I have actually a lot of privilege as a cisgender white man. And I grew up in Denver in the 1990s, a closeted gay guy, and I remember vividly the headlines when Matthew Shepard was killed 2 days after my 14th birthday. And I remember my mom being upset because I think on some intuitive level she maybe knew that I was going to come out. And I remember how upset she was, and I remember how scared I was. So I do have some lived experience, I think, that is relevant to what it means to be afraid of the hatred directed toward LGBTQ plus people in our community. And I want to name, just in case folks don't know, there actually are a number of folks up here on the dais who are from the LGBTQ community. And I assure you, all of us are taking this really seriously, both as a policy level as leaders, but also, speaking for myself, just in terms of my own personal experience on this. That anger, that hatred is real. And I want to name that, on the one hand, I'm so heartened by the progress that we've made. The fact that I got married a year ago in front of beloved families and friends to a wonderful, wonderful man, and felt so comfortable doing that in front of friends and family. And that's legal in all 50 states is amazing. And in 2025, the fact that so many people have come in front of us and spoken over and over about the fear that they feel in our community is gutting to me. I really appreciate, I've had a number of conversations with our city leadership. I've had a chance to sit and talk to the city manager about this, and I assure you, she's taking this very, very seriously. All of us are trying to figure out what else we can do to respond and handle this case as, you know, with the seriousness it deserves. And I believe from seeing Chief Smith speak tonight that he's trying. I don't always think the words come out exactly the way they should, and I think that's fair to point out. And let's also all give each other just a little more grace. Like, I think there's a way to push and advocate and be passionate and push us to be better, but also not assume that people are operating from their worst selves. Let's give each other a little bit of grace. I was hard. I don't want to repeat the litany of things Chief Smith committed to. I think that a lot of good commitments have been made over the last 2 meetings. I think it's worth acknowledging the way that this, you know, all the ways that we can do better. I'm also running out of time, so I'm going to try to wrap this up. I want to name explicitly that dead naming or misgendering a trans individual should never happen, period. Chief Smith and our city manager are clearly taking this seriously and have conveyed a number of steps they're taking to make sure this doesn't happen again. I think it's important we get updates on that to make sure that takes effect, including implementing some of the policies they mentioned. Chief Smith and the city have made a series of commitments over the past week to get more feedback from Coloradans with deep expertise and lived experience, and I think that's encouraging. I do just want to say that I think given all the questions that keep being raised from the community, whether there's anything to the concerns or not with the investigation, on the one hand, as elected officials, it's just wildly inappropriate for us to intervene in an active police investigation. You don't want that. You don't want all of us up here while an investigation is ongoing, swinging in and trying to interfere with it. It's not good practice. You don't want political pressure in any kind of situation interfering with an active investigation. And speaking for myself, when this thing is done, I would be very, very interested in seeing some sort of neutral third party coming in and doing an after-action report on the investigation. I think that would be useful. I think that would be good. I think we've heard a lot of people calling for that. I think it's a reasonable step to take. I ultimately defer to our city leadership on how to handle that, but I think there must be a way of getting some sort of independent validation or third-party assessment of the investigation that will give Jax's mom and Jax's loved ones some comfort and some solace and some assurance to provide to our community that this investigation was handled with the seriousness that it obviously deserves. I'm at time, so what I'm about to say is ironic, but I just want to say one other thing. Public comment is a really important institution. It's a sacred institution. It's so important that you all, and I wish a couple more people had stayed to the end, but I get it, people have lives. You all have to be able to come up and give public comment. The 3-minute rule is part of how we make sure that public comment happens. Okay, I think we actually saw tonight why it's important that people not be catcalling or shouting from the back. It actually interferes with people's ability to speak. The mayor isn't trying to walk out on anyone because of what they're saying. She's trying to hold the line on a really important procedural fundamental thing that allows public comment to happen. So I just want to say, please stop saying things like that the mayor walked out on people. She didn't. That's just not fair, and it's frankly performative, and it's beneath most of you. The mayor was trying to hold the line, and believe me, if the mayor starts not enforcing that line, those of us who are LGBTQ are going to be the first to suffer, because the people who come in and are going to start abusing that and shouting and disrupting city council meeting and then disrupting our ability to perform local government. I assure you, that is not what you want. So I don't mean to end on such a procedural note, but like the 3-minute rule is important, and stop dragging the mayor for enforcing it. We need to enforce it. We need to enforce it equitably. We need to enforce it whoever you are, whether you're saying the most inspiring, amazing thing in the world, or whether you come in saying something racist and vile and putrid. You get 3 minutes. The mayor's enforcing that. Stop attacking her for it, please. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your passion. You know, I'll do personal before business. Growing up in a home, seeing a mother lose a son at the age of 19 is an unbearable thing. Something I will hopefully never have to understand. You know, but seeing that loss and seeing that impact with family and friends, and seeing that here tonight has moved me. And I want to just speak to the community, to Jax's mother, to family and friends, that I see you. And that through all of this, what I've heard was, one, do better, two, that they don't feel safe or heard. So one thing I would like to do, individually, and any other, counselor that would love to join me, the mayor, is start an LGBTQ plus roundtable. It doesn't need to be formal. It's just something that we can meet, quarterly or bi-monthly, to where we're just speaking to you. What are you concerned about? What are your ideas? What are your solutions? I think that's something that I 100% is fully committing to do with community here in Lakewood. I do not like hearing that constituents from any background do not feel safe. So I want to make that commitment tonight. And then additionally, I just want to say that continue showing up, continue being loud, respectful, but also consistent. I don't want to take too much time because I know we all have a lot to say, but on a business note, just finalizing dates on the zoning code roundtable discussions. The city, again, gave commitments to provide dates. This is an opportunity for constituents to come meet with me and other counselors about, again, their ideas, their concerns, their questions and ideas for this zoning code. Thank you.
Ward 2.
You went reverse order there, keeping us on our toes. I will just start with the procedural pieces. I just want to thank everybody who came to our meet and greet at Balmer Peak Distillery last week. I think it was a great way for us to spend time in some settings that are not so formal, which I think is really important for how we understand each other, how I understand all of you as people, and how we can do the good work of figuring out how we as a community move forward. So I appreciate that. And thanks to Balmer Peak for hosting us and for giving us a tour of their facility. As well, we just want to thank the neighborhood association groups that have been meeting with us about the zoning code. It's been really helpful to connect with leaders in our community about how we can get this across the finish line to build the community that we all want to see and that executes our comprehensive plan. And I think we've been getting to a really good place in Ward 2. So thank you to our Two Creeks leaders, our O'Kane Park leaders, and so many more folks for working with us on that. And we will have more of a traditional ward meeting in August, on August 9th at the Hub on Colfax, the 40 West Arts Hub. We will be hosting our staff from Jefferson County Public Health Points West program to talk about overdose awareness and their other programming. Many of you might be aware that International Overdose Awareness Day is in August, and so it'll be a good opportunity for folks in our community to learn more about life-saving resources and how we can all be involved in helping keep our friends and neighbors alive. So to everybody who came to council today, both from our Lakewood community and from beyond, thank you for being here. I know this does not feel like the most accessible way to share your feelings. I saw that in many of you, and just know that a lot of the times with us up on this dais, it can feel a little bit like us versus them, and that does not help this dynamic of the community that we're trying to build, where we want everybody to feel safe and included. And I want everybody to know that we really do hear you. This really has been on our minds. Many of us identify as queer or LGBTQ, and also our trans neighbors face different obstacles, different structures of oppression, period. That's just something all of us need to be honest about. And as a cisgender person who identifies as queer in this seat, I do want to be an accomplice for all of you in figuring out how our city can do this right. Because I know you've heard a lot about intentions. I think we do have to hold space for how we all do this better, right? Because all of us are on different journeys, and some of that weight can be on some of us to hold, right? I don't think that should be on people who are going through these really painful moments. But it is clear that more is needed to get both this investigation and our community in a place where our trans neighbors feel safe. Because we know that Jax mattered and matters. All of you matter, all of her community matter, every single one of our neighbors matter. And I could say more words, but words are words. We need actions, and that's what we're going to fight for. So thank you.
Ward 1.
Yes, thank you. Am I speaking on behalf of Ward 1? Okay. So just wanted to thank the neighbors behind the Westland Shopping Center, the Miller Heights neighbors. They took some time with me to meet with Councilor Sinks and I 2 weeks ago to share about some of the things they want to ensure are front and center as we continue those conversations around the Westland project. And I just bring this up to point out to the community and for those listening at home that in addition to emails and phone calls and ward meetings, that there are a number of us who have been doing small group meetings with communities and neighborhood leaders to ensure that we're hearing some of the things, particularly as we get ready for the zoning ordinance. And just want to show gratitude for Councilor Sinks for joining me on these meetings and for community members who are reaching out and asking for that. We also have moved our ward meeting. It'll be August 9th this upcoming month at 9:30 to 11 at Holy Shepherd Church, as it always is. We'll be joined with members of COPERG who will be talking and asking for community input on transit over the next 10 years as it relates to Lakewood. It's hard not to recognize all of the empowering words that were spoken tonight from members of our trans community, from allies in our community, from community members who just want to see better in our world. And I want to recognize, under the current context, the trans community is and has been under attack, and your local leaders are meant to be accessible to you. And this tragic incident happened in our community, and I'm sad for that, and also really grateful that the community continues to show up and advocate for Jax, who we know and have heard was such a bright light for our community. I would echo what I've heard from others here. These dynamics are hard, and there is a power structure in how council meetings are set up, and that is not the intention here. And just reinforcing the point that others have been made, you are being heard, and there are actions that we are trying to move forward, some of which we don't have answers for right now, but understand that we're all committed, that we know that we should be doing better. And so I hope that there are small glimmers of that in the community, and that you will continue to hold us accountable to do this work. That's it for me.
Just a few points. I just participated in a softball tournament in Iowa, National Senior Games in Iowa. And as unsafe as LGBTQ people might feel here, oh my gosh, Iowa. No, anyway, and then somebody said, well, what's going on in Iowa? Or, sorry, I misspoke. Some people that I was talking to at that tournament, like, what's going on in Lakewood? Wow, how much time do you have for me to talk about what's going on in Lakewood? A lot. And I feel so honored to be on this council and to know, and one reason I wanted to be on city council was just to really see how it all works and to see how the staff is, and really the heart that the staff has, the eagerness to put out the heart that we have, that we care, and we're working on things as much as feasibly possible, as Councilor Lowe referred to, an active ongoing investigation. How can we include anybody in an active ongoing investigation? That would be very difficult. So I'm so happy to be on this council and know the heart, and to know that we are really different. We're not like so much of the U.S. I mean, it's a dangerous time. I get that. And yet, and this tragedy happened here, and yet we are doing better. We're trying to do better and doing better than many places. And we'll just keep working on that. And I'll close with that. Thank you.
Ward 4.
I'll just jump in. The first thing I wanted to say is that I have to admit, sitting among the councilors here, there's a fairly high bar in this passion and investment that they have. And so I agree with what you were saying, Councilor Sinks, which is to say that there is a lot of heart. And so there's nothing I can really add that, other than to say I am grateful for the words and the way you spoke them regarding all the efforts. I also am grateful to the community that comes forward and speaks. I think you can tell there are some people it's a very uncomfortable place to be, to step in front of the council and speak. So I'm grateful that they face that and use that opportunity to talk about their concerns and their fears. And so I've added plenty since so much has already been said. As far as Ward 4 report outs, we had a Ward 4 meeting that was primarily focused on the zoning last week, and heard a lot from the community about their concerns, and I hope we can continue to hear that. That meeting took the place of having the police come and speak to us, so obviously we will push that likely into an August meeting that we haven't set yet, but we will work on getting that date out as soon as possible. But I would like to say I've seen the community email as well, but continue to reach out about concerns, things. I also love hearing from people who have aspects of the zoning that they do like as well, but whether it's a concern or something you appreciate, please continue to reach out, come to the meetings, talk about your concerns.
You know, I'm always very grateful for people who show up and spend their time with us and share their insights and their concerns, and it means a lot to me personally. And when you have people who are more vulnerable than the rest of us, it means even more. So I know there's not very many folks left here in the chambers, but please know that I am so grateful for your words and sharing your fears and what you see as our next steps. I don't know if this is, if I could ask a question to legal. If Councilor Lowe raised an issue of, you know, perhaps there might be some review at some stage of the process, whether that's afterwards or not. I assume that to the extent there are legal issues surrounding those, I would imagine that there are many, that would be an executive session that we would have to schedule and move for.
Potentially, the issues, of course, are privacy that we need to protect. But there may be a way that we can do that as soon as the investigation is complete and the evidence of the case is turned over to the district attorney. At this stage, we don't want to do anything that would cause the district attorney to have difficulty prosecuting a case. But subsequent to that, I do think that's a conversation we can certainly have.
Is it a conversation that we can at least start the process so that when the time is appropriate, that we're not then trying to create the process and then next thing we know 6 months has passed?
Certainly, that's something the city manager and I can visit about tomorrow, and then she can follow up with you on what possible next steps might be.
Okay. And then the chief kindly mentioned about forming an advisory, that he had formed an advisory group or was in the process of forming an advisory group. I wasn't entirely clear. And that at least some members of that advisory group would be community members. Would it be possible for the city to provide us with information as to at least who was invited or who is anticipated to be invited from the community side of things to make up this advisory group, and to understand a little bit more what the role of the advisory group would be.
Yes, of course. We're happy to do that.
Very good. Thank you. I really can't add to anything that so many of you have said, and the importance of this issue is just, it's staggering to me, and complicated in understanding that. And so I really am going, and hopefully you don't mind, I'm going to lean on many of you for educating me, for guiding me, and really help me work through this process and your thoughts on that. So we have an incredible council, in my opinion, who have life experiences that are off the charts, and I hope that you will work with me to do the best that we can on this issue as well. We don't have a Ward 4 meeting scheduled, but we will.
Ward 5.
Okay, this time I'm ready. Yeah, I just want to say, and Councilor Ryan, I appreciate those questions, and I hope that going forward there can be advisory committees, and as Councilor K. Cruz said, roundtables. I think the more engagement that we have and the more that we can bring community together, we will all benefit from it. And I just want to say to the people that came in support of Jax and Jax's mother, that, you know, you are being heard. Unfortunately, things don't move as quickly as possible in these instances, and, you know, in the history of our country, we seem to go ebb and flow on discrimination and racism in all forms, which is exceedingly frustrating, but it's just the world we live in. And I just want to say that I think violence in any form at any time is not okay. And I hope that we all can truly learn from this. You know, just trying to be kind every day in every interaction with people makes a difference. Somebody's having a bad day and they may take it out on you. If you show them some kindness, it can have a positive impact. There's always going to be people filled with hate, people that will not treat others with kindness or respect, regardless of the circumstances. And distrust and negativity are not healthy for anyone, including the people that are being hateful. They, you know, they hold that in anger, and it's disruptive to them, to their families, to people in their community, and it's not healthy for them in the long run. So I hope that we can just focus on lifting each other up moving forward and kind of be the positive light that leads the way to change that is needed. And I think a lot of councilors have made some very good comments tonight, and I just hope everybody can reflect on that and try to use that in a positive way going forward. Having said all that, our next ward meeting will be August 23rd. And we're going to have a presentation from a local Girl Scout troop that they created their own food drive, and they're trying to build something that can be passed down to future members of their troop as they kind of age out. And so far, they've been very successful at what they're doing. And I want to encourage people to come and hear that, because those young people are the people that are going to bring about change and bring about positive implementation of programs that can help others. We will also be having a presentation from Portlight, the community justice organization, and you know, again, they're serving women that have been in abusive relationships and circumstances that are kind of mind-boggling, but again, I would encourage everyone to bring donation items, come and listen to what their presentation is, learn a little bit more about that organization that's right here in Lakewood and is really serving our community well. Thank you.
All right. I want to just thank, excuse me, Jack's friends and family for coming down and all of your comments. I want to agree with all the comments of my fellow counselors. Really appreciate all your thoughtful words and questions to staff. I know we all want justice in an unjust world. Your advocacy helps keep us on our toes, and I just want to thank you all for speaking out. Also, I do want to thank our police chief for starting the conversation about a community review board relating to policing. I know this can be an important step for many communities. I've seen communities like Boulder and others take that kind of step, and so I'm definitely interested to hear more about that and the way that they're thinking about that. I also want to thank Councilor Cruz for mentioning the listening session idea. I think that's a good idea. It'd certainly be educational for me, and I'm sure for all of us to hear what more people in the community are thinking about, especially as it relates to these kind of issues. So thanks.
So I mentioned earlier tonight that the proclamations are my favorite part of the meeting. It's always fun to listen and, well, be a part of recognizing something or bringing awareness to very important issues that impact our community. My second favorite part of this meeting is going through our council reports, and I appreciate the fact that I get to finish after I get to hear all of you. And for those of you that are in the room or watching this online, you can probably understand why it's so inspiring. And I have so much gratitude for serving with these amazing people that I serve with up here on the dais. We have a very heart-focused council, and I hope that for Jack's friends and family that came to show support tonight and ask for us to do better, I do hope that you genuinely walk away understanding maybe, yes, we are imperfect humans and it doesn't always come out as gracefully as we might like to, but you've got an audience up here, you've got an audience across leadership in Lakewood that is absolutely trying. So I want to thank all of you that are up here. I want to thank all of our community members that showed up tonight, again, in support for Jax, and just to let you know that we are working on it. And we don't just say that. That's not just words. It's very important to us. With that, I have really just one work item to mention. I feel like so much of this year has been zoning code, comp plan, zoning code, comp plan. Well, we got the comp plan done tonight. Zoning code's a bigger beast. And so for anybody that has been kind of waiting until we get to the final stretches, we're getting to the final stretches. So now is the time to really start to look at it. And I will apologize now. It's of like, what is it, 400, 300? I don't know. It's thick. It's a lot of pages. But it is very important because the zoning code impacts every property in the city. And whether it impacts every single one every single time, it does impact how land use is done and things are decided on us across our city, which includes potentially where your home is and where your neighbors' homes are. So please, I would encourage you to look at lakewoodtogether.org. You don't have to read through full 400 pages. There are plenty of FAQs that you can also look at too. And please, don't hesitate. You've heard, over the last few months, city councilors that have been hosting special meetings or regular meetings or, available to have just one-on-one Q&A. Please do reach out to any of us if you want to sit down and learn more. If you have questions or challenges, now's the time and get engaged. We really do want to hear from you at the end of the day when we pass that zoning code. We want to make sure that we're doing the absolute best that we can for our community, meeting the needs that we know that are out there. We heard a needs assessment earlier today about housing. We've got to figure out a way to address that, but also a way that really honors the history of our area and the integrity, the reason that many of us chose to be here. A lot of that parks and green space and the equestrian activities. There's a lot around here, and it's really incumbent upon us to help make sure that we're meeting the needs of tomorrow, but also preserving the reason that many of us decided to move here years ago. So please engage lakewoodtogether.org/zoning. It might be zoning update. Just go to lakewoodtogether.org. It's one of them at the very top. You can't miss it. And with that, that is all that we have this evening. So we'll see no further business, and we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 10:04 p.m.